Go ahead and go live here.
Let's do it.
All right. Hello, Geekery Abides. Welcome. We are here for, I guess we have an intro now. Let's go ahead and hit the intro. Or
Let's do it.
I guess we could we can talk to the live stream as well. But welcome to the live stream. We're here for episode 4. But let's go ahead and hit the intro and get on started right into it.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides. This is our geeky podcast. I am Tad, and with me as always is Peter, as
Hello.
we are here for the fourth episode, the second one now with an intro. So
Yeah.
it feels like get your blood pumping a little bit more. Yeah,
50% of our episodes now have an intro.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's how it works. I probably should have thought about intro beforehand, but it didn't happen. But yeah, we're here for episode 4, where our main topic we'll talk about in a bit, but that is going to be our top 5 fandoms right now,
Currently.
So yeah, we of course
Not all time.
We can always talk all time stuff, and to a point, our first episode talking with our introduction stuff, our origin stories, probably. There's a lot of mimicry if we were to talk all time, but with this one, we're talking about what floats our boat right now, today in 2023.
Yep.
And I'm guessing we could do an episode like this once a year, and it's probably going to shape a little bit depending on different
It
things.
could even just be like a passage thing at the beginning of the year. Just be like, hey, any change to your fandoms? You know, like, is there anything a little bit different there? Anything changes for you, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, this will be a fun one to talk about here. So we're here on March 18th, 2023.
Yep.
We're technically a week early. I know this is a new podcast, so, but if you've listened to our other podcast, our Dark Tower Palaver, there are times we have to move our scheduling around based on just life in general. This is one of those. I will be on vacation starting Tuesday, so I will not be here in the country next week when we would normally go live. So this one shifted. Sometimes we shift late, sometimes we shift early. It just depends on availability across the board.
Yep.
This one shifted early, which means we will have a little bit of a longer break than we're used to having. I mean, I know we're still in the early stages here, but we'll be coming back on the 8th of April for the next episode, which we'll talk about at the end what the topic is on that. But then let's also talk about emails. If you want to email us, I have not had any emails yet, but if you want to email the show, you can email any number of things. You can email ideas for show topics. You can email your input on some of these conversation things. If you have not followed us over from Dark Tower Palaver, with Dark Tower Palaver, we kind of always have an idea that like a conversation doesn't end just because we stop talking about it. Because with a podcast, if you're not in the live stream, like so far we have Mike and Carol. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
If you're not with us then, if you're just listening in the podcast, we still want you to be part of the conversation. So if there's something that we talk about that you want to address, feel free to do that. You can do that in one of two ways. You can email either Peter or myself directly. That is going to be peter@geekeryabides.com, and then Tad, which is spelled T-A-D-D. Don't forget the second D there, at geekeryabides.com. You could directly email either of us. We do alternate back and forth on who kind of produces the shows. So we're here on episode 4, which makes that you, because I'm the odd one.
Correct.
Which that works on
You
multiple,
are the odd one.
That does work on multiple levels there,
Yeah,
too.
so if you have anything that you want to send my way, because it's like a surprise for Tad, send it to me. If you want something to go to Tad, because it's going to be an episode that he's producing, then send it to him. If you just have it in general question or anything like that, flip a coin, go Two-Face style, heads, Tad, tails, me, and just do it that way.
Could do it. Harvey Dent's a good man.
Harvey Dent is a good man. Two-Face, on the other hand, not so much. I mean, that's just, yeah.
If he lets fate decide, that means he's not a bad person, right?
Yeah, because that's what you should do, is leave someone's fate up to a coin toss, you know? But
At least there's like real logic to that. Unlike the Joker, that's just like,
he'll kill you just for looking at it. You know.
or like he would flip a coin, go, oh, the coin says you live. I don't like that, and then shoot you anyway.
Yeah,
like,
and then shoot you.
Because he's chaos. He's pure chaos.
He absolutely is. So, like we do with every episode, we like to recap and see what we've been up to. What have you been watching recently?
Well, it's actually on you first on this.
Oh, is it me?
Because I have slides. Yeah.
Oh, it's me first.
No, so yeah, we did.
I gotta go first.
We did discuss even just today, where in general we talked. It's like baseball. You know, the home team goes second.
Yeah.
So I guess I could flip these in the future, but this was already made before that.
We can leave it the way it is. That's fine. I'll go first. So I finished 1883. It's only been a week, so not much has changed.
Yeah.
But I did finish 1883. I finished the second half of that. It's a 10 episode thing.
Yeah.
Really good. It's really fantastic. I'm not going to go into details. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't watched it. I know there is so much out there to stream and watch, but if you like Yellowstone, if you like anything where it's like the struggle and everything, also if you like strong female characters, absolutely check out 1883. I will say Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, two singers/songwriters,
Yeah.
unbelievable
I actually
actors.
I didn't know that until like 4 or 5 episodes in. I'm just like, God, who are these people? They're like
Yeah.
really fucking good. And I looked it up and I saw the names. I'm like,
Wait.
oh no,
Wait.
this can't be real. They're not.
No, they're country singers. They can't be good.
Musicians aren't good actors.
They
Like,
were so good.
yeah, I was blown away by both.
Yeah,
their
so I
performances.
loved 1883. I'm excited to start 1923, but I've been sidetracked because of you son of a bitch.
Nah, I don't know.
You
about that.
always do this to me. I have a plan. I'm going to watch this, and then I'm going to watch this, and then I'm going to watch this. And then I talk to Tad and say, I'm going to watch this, I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to watch this. And you know what Tad does? He sits back there with a little smirk, just like that one right there on his face right now. And he goes, you know you should watch. You should watch that. And you know what usually ends up happening is I end up watching that instead. So we were having a conversation the other day at work about how I had finished 1883, and we talked about how much I liked it and everything. And you and one of our coworkers started talking about a show called King of the Hill,
Oh, such a fucking brilliant
which
show.
I
man.
have seen episodes of King of the Hill. Have I
Yeah.
sat down and ever watched chunks of King of the Hill? No, I have not.
You're in for a treat, man.
so-
you're in for a treat. It's such a fun show.
I got off work Thursday night. We have a 3-day weekend. Tad and I both work at the same company. We work 4/10, so we have Friday, Saturday, Sundays off, which is one of the reasons why we're here every other Saturday doing this.
yeah.
And I started King of the Hill. And I'll tell you right now, 2 episodes. It took 2 episodes to hook me.
And
And
honestly,
the joke that hooked me, I text you.
it's like most shows too. Like it starts a little rough, you know.
Yeah.
The animation's rougher than it will be later, and they haven't fully found exactly what the show's going to
Mm-hmm.
be yet. So the fact that you're already like in and
The
you're in the
humor
early, and you're
caught
in,
me
yeah,
already.
you're in the early. I mean, honestly, it's Mike Judge, and
Yeah.
like honestly, I don't think he's ever done wrong. Like everything he does is
Yeah.
brilliant. But yeah, I love King of the Hill, man.
Yeah, that joke that I text you about, they're
Carol agrees. She says, "Wow, King of the Hill is the best."
yeah. So it's my first time through watching the entire show.
Oh,
you know,
man.
like it's one of those shows that's, you know, the reruns have been on TV for
Yeah.
decades now.
It's been on since the late '90s.
Yeah, exactly. It started in 96, 97.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been around forever. I've caught episodes here or there, especially like if I end up in a hotel
Yeah.
and there's nothing else to watch, I'll leave King of the Hill on and everything like that. You know, I don't have my streaming services to go to and watch something.
yeah.
That
That needs to change.
They absolutely need to have.
They need
I will say, I've stayed at Airbnbs and they had Roku boxes.
Yeah.
So you just sign into your stuff and then remember to sign out when you leave. Is what they had on the little welcome note that they had.
There needs to just be like
So-
a thing where you can get like a jump drive that has all your accounts on it. You just plug it in, and then all your shit signs in automatically. Because
I
honestly,
guess you could just take
honestly,
your Roku with you,
honestly,
right?
yeah. If I was at an Airbnb, I think I'd probably almost not. It'd be more of a pain in the ass to go through and sign into all my accounts. So that'd probably stop.
Well,
me.
we stayed at an Airbnb. We did like a 2-day vacation up to Idaho. We went up to Bear World up there. And the Airbnb that we stayed at, it was like a long weekend. We checked in like Thursday. We left like Sunday and everything. And we signed into the 2 streaming services that we use the most.
Yeah.
So we didn't go ham and sign into the, you know, like
Everything,
all
yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
We just signed into the 2 that we had. We had a show that the 3 of us were watching, and then we had a show that me and my wife were watching. And those were the two things that we logged into. So
Yeah,
that's something.
Mike says Office Space and Idiocracy as Mike Judge's best work.
Office
those
Space
are great.
is so funny, and I love Office Space. That's the thing is like I love Office Space.
So Stephen Root that plays oh god, I just blanked on his fucking name with the stapler. That's Bill.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so Stephen Root.
You stole my stapler.
That's Bill.
I believe you have my stapler.
That's William Fontaine Dautrieve.
Dautrieve.
Yep, indeed.
Milton.
Milton, yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those like I know the name, but once I fucking tried, like my brain just went complete blank. What else you got? Reading, playing, anything?
So nothing has changed there. I'm still reading that trilogy of World War II books about the Pacific War that you turned me on to. I finished book 2. I'm on book 3. And then after that is the decision. Oh boy, what do I do next? When I figure it out, I will let you know. But I still have half of this book, and it's like 26 hours long.
Yeah.
So I still have another like 13 hours
got a
long.
ways to
So
go.
I got a ways to go.
Third book?
Third book.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm in Red Dead. I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I got it on Steam after transitioning from Xbox to PC. So I am trying to 100% the game, which is
It's a challenge.
That's a lot. I got to the part where you switch what character you're playing as. Not to spoil the game for anyone who is ever going to play it.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where you switch to playing that second character, and I'm going through now and just collecting everything. I'm actually right in the middle. Last night I was doing dinosaur bones. So that's what I'm at. What are you doing?
Not a whole lot change. I am still I'm at the tail end of The Office. I'm in the second to last season, so I'm into the non-Michael Scott era of The Office. I decided to rewatch all that. So
you're watching that. I know you've joked about not watching that.
Oh, dude,
stuff.
I love Robert California, dude.
Oh, okay.
It's so fucking good.
Kathy Bates shows
and Kathy
up too.
Bates, yeah. So in the tail end of that, watching wise, I'm not sure if there's anything else I'm really watching right now that I can think of.
You watched any movies recently or anything?
No, I wanted to go.
You gone to theaters though?
I haven't recently. I wanted to go see Cocaine Bear, but it just hasn't happened yet. I mean,
You're busy getting ready for your vacation.
Yeah, the vacation coming
Yeah,
up,
I
plus
gotcha.
prepping the episodes and stuff. It's
Sure.
been tough. I might go see something tomorrow, maybe. But
just an FYI for everyone behind the scenes here. Tad does this thing at the local theater that we have. It's
not
Regal.
local. Regal's
Oh,
nationwide.
our
Yeah.
local Regal, I
Yeah.
should say, where he does the monthly membership, so he can go see as many movies as he wants.
Yeah, indeed.
So when he talks about going and seeing a movie, it's a way of life.
In fact,
for
I
him.
actually did buy a ticket to Cocaine Bear for one night, and I just couldn't do it.
And the thing is,
It was Thursday night, so I got
Yeah.
a haircut. I had to go get some food, and by the time I was done with that, it was like 20 minutes till the movie. I'm like, okay, am I going to watch Cocaine Bear, or do I want to go home, get my freaking shoes off and stuff, and then like throw on the new episode of Picard? Which I guess watching wise, that's probably the big thing too. Is
You also finished
Poker Face is done. Yeah, Poker Face is done. So I am still watching Mayor of Kingstown and Picard on TV as well. Office is a rewatch, but
now where
yeah.
are you at with 1923? I know that
It's done.
You finished.
That's finished. Yeah,
You
that's
finished
done.
it. Okay.
Yep, that's done as well.
Gotcha.
Reading wise, the only things that have changed really is I have been reading Son of Superman, but I'm at the point now where that's actually a new series, and so like it's one of those things where like it takes 6 months from when the issue or publishes to showing up on the app, and I'm caught up with it. So now it's just like
Now you just gotta wait?
I gotta wait this long time for like new issues to drop. I guess I can go buy them if I wanted to, but I'm really digging that one so far.
You're just doing it on the DC app.
The DC app, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, the other day, just on a whim, I pulled up my Marvel app and I happened to stumble into this sheet on my Google. I found my chronological checklist. I think I'm in the middle of like 1963 right now, and so I dove into that again. So I don't know if I'm going to commit to that long term, but I did dive into Tales to Astonish, which is an Ant-Man story in the early bit of 1963. So, and then I'm playing Red Dead still, so not a whole lot changed for me.
You finished a book though.
Yes, that's more on the other podcast a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did finish Revival, indeed, and I'm now diving into 11/22/63.
That's
so, first time I've reread that one in 10 years or so. So good stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
absolutely. So that's what we've been reading, watching, and playing. And so next up, we got the news, which is going to be Tad taking over to go over the news. Because like our other show, I generally don't catch the news. I don't sign up for news alerts. I don't actively seek out the news. My source of news is that guy right there.
Yeah.
He usually texts me when something happens. We have a movie crew text for anything Marvel related.
Yeah.
Also anything horror film related, like when Scream was announced, when the new Halloweens and everything like that came out.
Yeah.
That's usually my source of news. So we're going to go to Tad. Tad with the live report.
And see, I gotta just change these slides. I keep forgetting to change over to me. So the What Have I Been Watching just showed your name under.
You just
under
got to
the
put
whole
both
time.
of us.
Yeah, it's something like that exactly. Because I'm very very bad at remembering to change that slide. So over to the news. The first thing, rest in peace, Lance Reddick, which is famous for The Wire and John Wick.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of other stuff. He actually voiced Thomas Wayne in some stuff. I
did.
noticed looking at his IMDb. He passed away at the age of 60. Not old enough, certainly, but he played Cedric Daniels in The Wire. He's a legendary actor. He's always been good in everything I've seen. Apparently, he dropped out of the debut of John Wick 4, which just happened not too long ago, and then here a number of days later, he has passed away. So, to Mr. Reddick,
Good night, sweet prince.
rest in peace to him. Love him in The Wire. Love him in John Wick.
He was great in John Wick. He's like the hotel
like the
consigliere.
desk guy.
Desk guy,
he takes care of the dogs a few times. So.
Yeah.
That's a sad one. Definitely unexpected as well. 60 is not old enough.
No,
So-
absolutely not. He's great. That's such a sad bit.
Oh,
of
and
news.
Destiny. I threw him on there because apparently one of his he's been in a lot of the Destiny games,
Oh, okay.
voice-wise. So good, covering the whole gamut of geekery there, movies, television, and video games.
And good stuff too.
Yeah,
Lot of
yeah,
stuff.
good stuff for sure. So over to more positive things. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once dominated at the Oscars. It had the most above-the-line awards than any other film in history, including 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Original Screenplay, Lead Actress, Supporting Actor, and Editing.
We got to talk about supporting actrors for a second.
Yeah, a lot there. Also, Everything Everywhere All at Once has 158 accolades, which easily, and IGN actually has been tracking this for a number of years. So this isn't just Oscar stuff, but basically everything in this whole era, this whole region right now of time in this first part of the calendar year. You have a shitload of award shows. You've got, like the Directors Guild has one, the Writers Guild has, like, there's just award shows everywhere. Everyone, doing
all
their
the
own
TV
things.
show ones, all the live action ones, all of those happen in the first part of the year.
So IGN's been tracking it, and the all-time leader of all accolades that they track had been Return of the King with 101, and Everything Everywhere All at Once beat it handily with 158.
Holy cow!
So it is dominated. It's a
Maybe I need to go watch this movie.
you should. It is an incredible fucking movie.
But we need to talk about supporting actress real fast because it is your queen.
Oh, I mean, it's the queen. It's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis got her first Oscar.
Got her first Oscar. Neither
That's awesome.
neither of her Hollywood legend parents ever won Oscars.
Nope.
Tony Curtis or Janet Leigh, neither of them won. She's never won anything Oscar-wise in her career. She's probably deserved it a number of times. She's incredible. She also shouted out to the genre fans, horror and sci-fi fans that have supported her since day one. So I love that. She is a queen. So love her.
Absolutely.
Also, this is the most awarded Best Picture since Slumdog Millionaire in 2008.
Wow.
A lot of times the Best Picture one, kind of there's not a lot of like carryover. Best Picture doesn't sweep lower things a lot of times in the last number. I mean, since 2008, it's been it's been a long time.
Over
this,
a decade.
This is the first time in a long while that we've seen the one win Best Picture as well as it sweeps a lot of lower ones. So pretty cool. I'm happy for it because I really loved that movie. So highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's really good. Next up, James Gunn confirmed via Twitter that he will be directing the Superman film Superman Legacy. We all knew that he was writing it, but he had not.
There were some questions about who was going to direct it.
Yeah, he has not up till recently. He has not committed. He said he was offered a Superman movie years ago and turned it down because initially he did not feel he had a unique and fun way that to get into the movie that also gave Superman the dignity that he deserves. And then about a year ago, he saw his way in, and he basically found it through what he said is the heritage of Superman, because he is both an aristocratic Kryptonian as well as a farm boy from Kansas.
Oh,
so there's like a dichotomy there with him where he's like both like a regal, royal thing as well as like a freaking salt of the earth. So that's where
Wait, on Krypton, Superman's family is royalty?
yeah.
Oh, is he really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I never knew that. I always thought that they were like scientists, like
Well,
upper class citizens.
I mean,
but
I guess
I didn't know that they were
no.
royalty.
Yeah, I guess aristocratic. I guess that's more true. Is more because it's not. It's like there's like leading council, but
Yeah.
But his dad's a huge part of that and stuff.
Yeah,
so
he might sit on the council or advise the council.
Yeah.
but I never took it.
And not royalty. I guess is the wrong word because they
okay.
don't have a royal system, but they're aristocratic.
Mike says closer to nobility.
Nobility, blue blood.
Yeah.
They're in that
The
realm.
Rockefellers kind of thing.
Exactly, kind of in
Yeah.
that realm as well as Kansas. He grows up as a farmer, super humble and stuff.
Very middle class, lower class kind of thing.
And he says he then wrote the script, but was still hesitant to direct it. But he really loves the script and is excited now to direct it. So he
that's
is
awesome.
going to be directing. So can't wait to see that. I'm
Superman
excited.
with James Gunn. Holy hell, that's going to be an interesting combo.
Yeah, I'm
Like-
and I love that he pointed out the dignity too, because I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of people that are super concerned that he's gonna do the irreverent Guardians / Suicide Squad shit with
Slash
Superman,
Thor.
which
Yeah.
would not work at all. I mean, he didn't do Thor. He helped on some
He
stuff.
had
but-
Thor get stripped naked, sir.
What? James Gunn?
Yeah. No, he didn't do Ragnarok. I'm thinking of Waititi.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, different there.
I was mixing those two up,
yeah.
which makes sense.
But
They're kind of the same.
But still, with Guardians and Suicide Squad, he has a very distinct style, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that have been very negative about him because they felt that he was going to take the same exact thing to Superman. I never believed that was the case. I think that James Gunn has showed enough through his career that he's not always that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll adapt to the stuff, and this proves it. So I'm excited. I'm a huge Superman fan. I haven't really been happy with the Superman movie since 2008 or 6. I'm sorry, 2006. Superman Returns. So I can't wait to see my boy back on the big screen. Next up, very strange one. Pretty much almost every Marvel show on Disney Plus has moved from dates to being coming soon. And the rumor is that almost all of them, the rumor is the only ones that are going to come out this year are Secret Invasion and Loki, and everything else is TBD.
huh.
So,
Well, that goes in line with what we were talking about. It was the last episode or the episode before that where it was it is space. Kevin Feige was
Yeah.
saying that they're going to get back to focusing on movies and less on streaming. And we both were like, wait a minute, there's more planned for streaming than there was for movies in Phase 4.
Well,
So maybe that's something to do with it.
there's
And
there's also
what
some.
was it that was supposed to be
There-
what was it that was supposed to be a streaming show that got converted to a movie?
I don't know.
There was one Marvel that was supposed to be a streaming show, and then they converted it to a movie. I swear it was Captain America 4.
No, that was always a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there is some scuttlebutt that there may actually also be this may be going up to Bob Iger, basically saying that
Who came back, yeah.
he's unhappy with maybe some of the quality of what Marvel has put out, and it's felt a little rushed, and they need to make sure that they're taking more care of it. Whether that's true or not, who knows? One other thing I want to point out though is one possibility is there is a looming potential for a writer's strike coming up. The writers unions contract is coming up, and there is some stuff that they're very unhappy about royalty wise and stuff, specifically in the realm now of COVID, where movies were promised to be in theaters and got moved straight to streaming. There's things like bonuses and stuff that are involved with box office takes, and some writers have really gotten hosed financially because movies were
even like the actors spoke out, and
Yeah.
a couple of them sued over that, didn't they? Like
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson did, didn't she?
yeah.
Real fast, my thought. Vanity Magazine on September 29th, 2022, just after a quick Google search, Marvel's Armor Wars series being redeveloped as a movie. That's the one I was. And that's why I was thinking Captain America is because Rhodey.
Yeah.
and-
Well, I mean, we'll see in terms of what, because I don't know.
We don't know what's going to happen now with a bunch of them going to TBD.
But ultimately, with the writer strike potentially coming,
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if all the studios and corporations that run these studios are going to take anything that they have written and start to stretch it out a bit, because if a writer strike does happen, they then have content. Because the second a writer strike happens, like if they don't have a script in their hand, they're not getting one until it gets
can't get one.
resolved. So
Right.
last time we had a writer strike was in 2008, and that was not a good time. So
We had a lot of series that were cut, seasons that were cut short. Instead of being 20 episodes, it was 13. Instead of being 13, it was 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So stuff like that is what happens.
Yeah, so that's who knows what's going on there, but ultimately and again, this is all rumors. It hasn't been announced yet, but the rumors is that Loki and Secret Invasion are the only things that are probably coming out this year
For streaming.
and everything else. So like What If was supposed to come out this year, season to. Doesn't sound like it's coming.
They might be
So,
just holding on to it for during the strike.
yeah, who knows? And-
Mike says Marvel will have to settle for making only $3 billion this year.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no kidding there. But yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. And because again, a lot of this is rumor. Everything did because they have stuff that lists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that had dates that then changed to coming soon. So that for sure is happening. In terms of a lot of the other stuff I just said, we don't know. A lot of it's just rumor and innuendo. The writer's strike aside, though, that is actually potentially happening. So
There are signs indicating that it's most likely going to happen. Not that for sure there is going to be a writer's strike. It's not what Tad's saying.
No.
But there are a lot of signs pointing towards it. We've had these before. There's
Yeah.
one in 2008. There have been several before that as well since the Writers Guild. Is it
Yeah.
Writers Guild?
Yeah, Writers
I
Guild.
wanted to say Writers Guild or Writers Association were the two that were.
It's WGA, Writers Guild of America.
That's what it is. That's where
Yeah.
the A was coming from. But ever since the WGA came about, there has been times where the writers are just like, no, this is ridiculous, and so
Yeah, and it usually has stuff to do with like newer things like
Yeah.
streaming. There, that's probably the biggest fight they're going to have now because in 2008 streaming didn't really exist. So there's things like what royalties exist now and what kind of back end do writers get if their shit goes straight to streaming,
right
which again,
versus going to syndication.
yeah, versus or going to theaters and then like. There's a whole realm. It's all minutia, but ultimately that could be coming, which could be very bad for. And I'm totally with them making sure they get taken care of. But
Absolutely,
it'll be
they
bad.
deserve to be paid.
It'll be bad for us, people that want to watch shit. 'cause-
Us GA members.
yeah, exactly. Next up, Quentin Tarantino has announced the title for his alleged last movie. Titled is going to be The Movie Critic. So this is his 10th movie. He has a couple things that he's kind of fudged there to get that because he said for a decade or more that that hardly any directors make any good movies after their 10th one. So I'm just going to make 10 and then peace out. So he's been saying that for a long time. But if I remember right, like if you actually count up his movies, he's already well past 10 because things like but he'll do things like
Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2.
Kill Bill is only one, and like whatever. I mean, we'll see if he actually even does step away. But ultimately, this would be, even to his admission, there's no way to finagle it because I've also heard him even talk about maybe doing some television stuff, which then wouldn't count. So he does plenty of work, which whatever. But if this all comes through, this might be his last movie, and it's titled The Movie Critic, which is very strange.
Interesting.
And then next up, Denzel Washington has joined Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel.
Oh, we got a Gladiator sequel coming?
Yeah, by Ridley Scott. Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's
I love Gladiator.
yeah, and then Denzel. I mean,
It's the first rated R movie that I remember seeing in theaters.
yeah, Gladiator. I've been thinking about rewatching it. I haven't watched it probably since within it probably 6 to 8 months of it
I watched.
coming out. So
I pulled randomly. I got a craving for the opening scene because of Hardcore History, that other podcast about
yeah.
history from Dan Carlin. Wonderful podcast. If you're a fan of history, check out Hardcore History. Shout out Dan Carlin. But he did a series on Vikings and
Yeah.
not necessarily just Vikings, but also like the quote unquote barbarians of Europe that are famous for, they're the ones that sacked Rome, they're the ones that brought down the Roman Empire, but talking about them being converted to Christianity. And of course, the first thing that pops into my mind with Germanic hordes is the opening battle scene in Gladiator. So
Yeah.
I went back and I watched that in 4K.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, dude, this still holds up. That's a really fucking
Yeah.
wicked battle.
I watched a YouTuber that reacts watched Gladiator, and it made me kind of want to like maybe buy the 4K version and watch
Yeah.
it. So
You
next,
know what, Ted?
Do it.
indeed. Next up, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron has probably been entirely shelved. I mean, we kind of we've already suspected that. It went from having a release date of the holidays of this year, but they haven't even started pre-production, so that wasn't going to happen. So it got removed from release date wise, but it does sound now like it is completely shelved, as well as, no surprise to me, the Kevin Feige Star Wars movie is probably not happening as well. I said that from the day they announced. I'm like, that will never fucking happen, dude. A guy that valuable and that important to Marvel, there's no fucking way they're letting him go make a goddamn Star Wars movie. I've been very suspicious that was even a real thing. So that's also been shelved. Doesn't sound like any of that's happening. Taika Waititi's is still on the docket. Of course, it sounds like he would also want to star in it, whether he's a star, whether he's just in it, as well as direct. So that seems to be the only Star Wars movie that anyone knows of. It's actually in development. So, Yeah, we'll see.
Well, my day's ruined.
Star Wars is in a weird place, man. Like, it feels like it's all television now. We haven't had a movie since 2019, and it doesn't seem like there's anything in the foreseeable future. I think the only one that's even in development is Taika Waititi. So we'll have to see.
I am bummed. Dude.
Did you not know that it was basically on the ropes anyway?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had no clue. I hadn't heard. Again, Tad, you're my news source. You haven't talked to me about Rogue Squadron for months.
Yeah.
So, just like, for those of you, we've talked about this. I love Star Wars. My favorite ship is the X-Wing. My favorite scene is the trench run. My favorite movie is A New Hope.
And Patty Jenkins' dad was a
Fighter pilot.
So, yeah.
My father was a fighter pilot in Vietnam, flying F-4 Phantoms off of Enterprise and the Kitty Hawk. So I love aviation. I love fighter pilots. I actually have plans tonight to watch that movie Devotion about the Korean War pilots. Absolutely excited for Rogue Squadron because Patty Jenkins' little teaser that she did is her getting out of a freaking fighter jet. I don't know which one it is. I think it's an F-18 or an F-22. And then walking up to an X-Wing, changing into the orange jumpsuit, and is like, get ready. I'll just like, be ready. Like, this is going to be a dogfight, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The things we heard about it, that it was going to be like, take Top Gun and mix it with Star Wars.
Yeah. Which,
sign me the fuck up.
I mean,
like,
Top Gun
Maverick.
Let's just.
Oh, yeah. Top Gun Maverick was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Really good.
So to hear that that's like shelved and probably going to get canceled, just.
Shelved doesn't mean canceled. It just means
I know,
that
but.
So we'll see.
When it comes to stuff like this, I become a pessimist.
So the last one, maybe positive. I didn't even build it this way. It just happened this way. But Daredevil Born Again has announced that they will be seeing John Bernthal returning as Frank Castle.
I did hear about this one, though, and I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, so
Frank!
So Frank is entering the MCU, and he is going to be played by
the right actor. Let's be honest. He is amazing as Punisher.
He's done great in the roles, for sure. So, that's a kind of a fun announcement. But that's it. That's all I've got for news. So let's go on over to the main topic. Take
Carol
it away,
says
sir.
there's a reason we have not had another movie since the last three. And Mike says there is more than one reason.
You know what? I will say, though, a lot of people have been really negative about Kathleen Kennedy. I do still believe she's one of the best producers in Hollywood. And I believe that, if anything, I think she's being overly careful with Star Wars for the most part. I mean, there's obviously been some hiccups. But I think that in general, I think she's, rather than let something out that maybe is whatever. I mean, we've seen how many filmmakers have either been bounced mid-production or even like pre-production and stuff. In some of those cases, maybe that was the wrong choice, but I think that she is trying to be as careful as possible with it. So I think, if nothing else, if she is going to take the lessons of what the last trilogy showed us, and the spin-offs, I mean, I'm not even saying that as a negative way. All things of the 5 movies that have been released?
Solo, Rogue One, and then the 3.
The 3. So 5 movies they've done in the Disney era. If she's going to go and take all the lessons from all that and then use that to do better with future things, like, I'm all for it. But I mean, when you go through and look at her stuff, like, I don't want to be unwelcoming to anyone, but I will say the super toxic haters of Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know if you're going to really enjoy this podcast, because I won't have it. Like, you look at her fucking resume, man. She's produced some of the greatest films of our childhood. So the whole idea that she's incompetent and all this other shit, like, fuck that, dude.
I don't think that it's necessarily going to fall into one person. That's the thing, is like, people can blame Disney, but then try to blame one person for that.
Yeah,
for the faults of a company and everything like that. And you know what? Maybe it's not just one person's fault. Also, let's just be perfectly honest. There were good things in all 5 of those movies. All 5 of them had something.
And I will say, I think that ultimately, probably what her biggest mistake is not even necessarily a mistake going in that you think, is that she wanted to empower filmmakers.
Yeah.
Like, she let these filmmakers kind of have their way a bit with the movies, and she didn't have enough oversight. It's like, usually people talk negatively about, like, executives and, like, studio people getting too in the fucking weeds and, like,
maybe
dictating things to people.
Far the other way.
And I think she went the other way, where she's like, she wanted to hire talented filmmakers, let them do their thing, but then, like, in the retrospect now looking, there probably could have been a little bit more oversight, and I think that she'll probably learn from that. But I think that,
hopefully,
like, that again, if it came down to like we've seen over the years so many filmmakers talk about their films kind of being ruined by the studios.
Yeah. We've seen it ourselves.
Yeah, we've seen it, and so I think that she's at least going the opposite direction of that, because I don't think there's very often that one's going to go the right way. So she went the other way. She let people have maybe a little bit too much freedom. I don't think that that's a bad choice from the outset. I think it's more of like retrospectively you look at it and go, you probably could have used a little bit more oversight there.
I think the big problem with that, and Carol says something here that's very, very poignant. No, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to blockbuster movies. Blaming one person isn't fair, and I'm of that mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want someone coming on here and being like, it's that person's fault why I didn't like this movie. It's like,
yeah.
Does that person control every aspect of that movie? No. I mean, she's a producer, but there's still a director. There's still a writer. Those people have to have some blame as well.
And also, she's producing all the television stuff, too. So it's like
she's got a lot on her plate.
The shit we love, the Mandalorian
Mandalorian
stuff,
and all of that.
People don't ever give her credit for the Star Wars shit we're seeing that we love. Like, she's also...
Clone Wars,
the Clone
Bad
Wars,
Batch.
Yeah, all the stuff that we've been loving on television, Star Wars-wise. So I'm just saying that, like, I just want to just at least set that out front, that it's like I'm not really necessarily a Kathleen Kennedy hater. I think, yes, she's not perfect, but who is? Except for George Lucas, of course. When it comes to Star Wars, especially.
But again, people hated the prequels when they first came out too.
Exactly.
So for me, I just take it with a grain of salt. But I think the thing that sticks in my mind when you talk about Kathleen Kennedy empowering filmmakers, the one thing is that George Lucas always had that famous line, and I think you're the one that told it to me the first time I heard it, is that when George Lucas wrote the Star Wars movies, and then the expanded universe started happening in the 80s and 90s, he's like, that's fine, but you're playing in my sandbox. I control what happens. So if you write something that goes against something that I come up with later, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not forced to take yours into account and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that Kathleen needs to understand as well going forward, is that some of these filmmakers are going to have those ideas, and they may not cross-pollinate between director number 1 and director number 3.
Yeah.
Or director number 1 and director number 2 in this case. Well, director number 3, we had a change of director on the third film.
On the third one, yeah.
Yeah, we went from someone to...
Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
To
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
So I think that there may have been some... I'm not saying there is. I don't know. There may have been something like that, but I think that some ground rules...
But I think
would help. I know you want to empower the filmmakers, but let's set some rules for the universe.
Yes, because that's the thing is the original trilogy had 3 different directors too.
Exactly.
Remember, everyone tends to forget that. Also, Lucas did not write.
But one person.
Lucas didn't write Empire or Jedi either. He wrote.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There was. Well, I'm blanking on her name right now. Lee Brackett is the one that gets the credit writing.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like even what she wrote was not. So she ended up getting cancer, and she passed away during the course of it. So Lucas kept her name on it.
Oh,
but
okay.
it sounds like it was heavily rewritten, and hers was far more old school sci-fi, not really Star Warsy. And so it was heavily rewritten, and I think Lucas was somewhat involved in that, uncredited. And then I don't remember, but the thing is Lucas was always involved though, and he had different directors, right? He directed the first one; that was his thing, but he had the studio to deal with. The second one, Irvin Kershner, Richard Marquand for the third one, but he was always there, and I think that's the one element that was missing is they need. Dave Filoni, most likely. Someone that kind of is the sinew that ties it all together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is we need that through thread between the 3 movies, because I feel like that's what was missing.
Yeah,
is that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson have very different directorial and storytelling. Tendencies.
Yeah,
and I think that that's what threw a lot of people off. Me and you both loved The Last Jedi. A lot of people didn't like it because it was so different from The Force Awakens. Yeah. But then you get to The Rise of Skywalker, and it's nothing like The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're not going to go. I'm cutting us off there. I'm steering this ship. We're going to cut off there. We're going to get to our main topic, because that's the end of the news, right?
Yeah, that is the end of the news.
Okay.
That did get into a little bit of a tangent.
It's
that's
what we do.
Yes.
It's what me and you do. It's always been that way. But I'm going to get us back on track. I want to get us into our top 5 fandoms.
Carol does say she loves the series stuff, so I agree. I mean,
there's
the stuff Disney's been doing on the television side, dude. Oh my god.
Unbelievable.
So good.
Which I guess we should bring up that we have been watching Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah.
We did not. Neither one of us put that again in our watching currently. Also, you started Ted Lasso, didn't you?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I will admit my watching reading list. Or wait. reading, playing.
Yeah.
I completely didn't prep that.
Oh, you just
when we
on the fly.
When we started, I pulled up the thing and I was like, "Oh my god, it's empty!" And I started like trying to rapidly type as quick as I could. I usually prep that stuff in advance, but
I need a shame button.
I completely
Dad, I need the shame button. I'm
on-
going to put it down.
Put it on the list.
Sound
Yeah.
bites. Shame.
Which,
Ding.
speaking of Ted Lasso, that's the boss from Ted Lasso, the Shame Lady from Game of Thrones.
Oh, is it really?
It's the same actor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, next time you either see that scene on YouTube from Game of Thrones, or if you ever rewatch Game of Thrones, you'll recognize it. I mean, she's wearing the whole like nun thing, but you could totally tell it's the
Carol,
same.
why do you got to call us out like that? She
What?
says we're back off track.
No, but I mean, you're right though. I mean, Mandalorian, neither of us mentioned
Yeah.
it. Ted, yeah, there's a lot of shit I'm watching for sure. But yes, I was completely, I was flat-footed on that, watching, reading, playing. and that segment was my idea, so I should have been. I think that's the problem, though. Is even when I'm throughout the week, like what I should do is probably just pull my notes up and take down what everything
As
I'm
you're
doing.
going.
'Cause
I had my note written out from days ago, and so it said starting King of the Hill, and I'm like, oh shit, I had to change that this morning when I was like, oh right, I gotta finish up my prep for this show. And
this is
everything
the
like
first
that,
time
so.
I've forgotten to do that section. Though.
Okay.
So I will say that that's the first time.
We'll let it go this time, but let's go to our top 5 fandoms currently. We're going to start with number 5, and we're going to start with Tad over here. And so I understand that we got a new view here for our top 5s.
Yeah, so we're going to give this a try. I guess you have it up on the screen here.
Yeah, let me see it.
So going like
Got a little
this.
bit of a delay.
Yeah, a little bit of a delay probably.
Oh
till
my
it-
gosh, my thing is glitching out. We're repeating. We're cycling. Like
What?
I was blinking and you were moving side to side on my screen.
Really?
Yeah, no, just like on mine.
Oh, I haven't transitioned the slide as well. I forgot. There we go. I forget I got the preview thing. I keep forgetting that on OBS. So now it should be showing. And
right.
it is the Gilligan verse.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. I wanted to type those, but it got so long it was like definitely cutting into where,
like
I'm actually
covering
out of-
over you.
Yeah, exactly. But the I know that Better Call Saul has ended technically. We have a little bit of time between us and the finale. But dude, I love this series. For the last decade or more, I've been absolutely just watching, rewatching, just getting into the nitty gritty of like as Better Call Saul came out, the whole idea of like watching and then going online on Reddit posts and all these different things, listening to podcasts, speculating, just kind of what I love with like geekery. I've done it heavily with the Gilligan verse.
Mike says, "Oh, my first reaction was Gilligan's Island." Really?
Yeah, I guess not everyone is as nerdy to like, oh, Vince Gilligan, the creator of it all. It's Vince Gilligan, but yes, sorry, because I tried to put Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, but again, it was too long. Or if
Yeah.
I did 2 lines and it didn't line up with yours because
It just looked funny.
So yeah, my brain couldn't handle doing it any other way. So I had to shorten
So
it.
Breaking Bad,
Breaking Bad.
I'm going to insist that you tell the story about the Breaking Bad finale.
Oh man,
I'm going to insist upon it. You've never told it on the.
no,
you've
no,
told
no,
it to,
not
before.
finale, not finale.
Okay, go on.
So
Go on.
the season 5 was split into 2 parts. That's
Okay.
the thing that I think they're still kind of doing a little bit, where they'll elongate the final season, but then cut it in half and then put it over 2 years. So it's just like 2 mini seasons. I think that started with Sopranos, but a lot of shows have done it. Breaking Bad did that. The the first episode of the second half.
So season 5, part 2, episode 1.
Yes, season 5,
Okay.
5B, episode 1. I'm blanking on the name of that one. But I was up in central Idaho for a friend's wedding, and we were up there for the weekend for the thing. I was in the, what do you call it, the line? Is that the right phrasing for a wedding?
You
Okay.
were like a groomsman.
Yes.
So
and
like full on, not going to a wedding. You were in the wedding.
in
is
the
what it
wedding,
is.
yes,
Yeah.
as well as Hayden was up there with me.
Good old Hayden. Potato.
And we were there, and it was Sunday is when the episodes aired. Sunday morning we got up. They had a Huckleberry Festival,
Okay.
so we ended up getting a little bit delayed on our travel out because we stopped at that, looked around or whatever.
Sure.
I was freaking out a little bit, but we ended up getting on the road. And I calculated it, and I pulled up the Google Maps.
Yep.
And as we were going down on the highway, I'm like, gotta go faster. And I was just waiting for the Google Maps. And we ended up finding it at right about 90 to 95 miles per hour was about the speed that would have got us there at the time the episode aired. We were not going to stop for restroom, nothing. We were like, we have to fucking go.
Yep.
He had it set up. We were doing parties at the time. Hayden had it set up at his place with like the TiVo, DVR, whatever you want to call it. So we weren't.
So this was back in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked up the episode.
What's it titled?
50.
No.
Bad Money, Blood Money.
Blood Money? Is that 5B episode 1?
It doesn't tell me because it still just says.
It's after Gliding Overall is the.
Oh, okay. Give me just a sec. Let me get back there. I accidentally closed it.
Gliding Overall is the first half's last episode. That's the
Okay.
one where Hank is on the toilet, finding out that Walt is.
It's called
Heisenberg.
Blood Money.
Blood Money.
Yeah.
That does not stick in my head.
Came
for some
out
reason.
August 11th, 2013.
Okay. So, yeah, we ended up going from central Idaho back down to Salt Lake City area, the Salt Lake Valley, south end of the valley, too. Going 90, 95 the entire way down. Didn't get a ticket, luckily. And we ended up getting there just in time. I think we were actually a couple minutes late, but again, with the DVR, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It actually was good because it put us ahead of just enough where we could fast forward through the commercials a little bit. So,
First couple commercial breaks.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and there was a group of people that was meeting us there and stuff. So it was a whole ordeal.
So it wasn't the finale. It was the first episode.
Of season.
The last season.
Yes,
of
it's
Breaking
the
Bad.
last stretch.
Yeah,
so.
the last stretch. Yeah.
Yes,
So
indeed.
Tad's told this story before. It's crazy to think about and everything like that. So that I love that story. I love hearing stuff like that. That absolutely shows why it's your on your top 5.
Yeah.
And it still is current, even though we have no new things for this.
Coming, yeah. It's
You rewatch Breaking Bad quite a bit.
Breaking Bad, yeah, and Better Call
Now,
Saul.
Better Call Saul,
I'm
you
probably
say-
going to do a rewatch pretty soon because
did
it's
you
now
s-
in the books. So
Yeah. Now,
Uh,
did you say that Better Call Saul was better than Breaking Bad?
Ah,
Didn't you say that once?
no, it's
No?
it's an argument. That
No. Okay.
There's an
I'm
arg-
going to rephrase it.
there's an argument people are making. As we headed into the last season of Better Call Saul,
Sure.
I kept saying I kind of see where people are coming from, but I disagree.
Okay.
And then as that season progressed, I was like, I see where people are coming from. By the finale, I was like, I don't know,
You
dude.
don't know.
It's
Two-Face, flip a coin, man.
It's so fucking good. Better Call Saul, and especially the last stretch. I mean, some of my favorite characters of the whole universe are in
Carol
that
says
show.
she thinks that she heard you say that too. So
I don't think
So-
I've ever committed to that because and I will admit I'm not being fair to Better Call Saul because the deep, long love I've had for Breaking Bad now, I think there's a stubborn part of me that just will never let it
Okay.
surpass it. Even in my mind, if I think that like it probably is a little bit of a better show, because honestly, what it comes down to as well is like you have the final stretch of Breaking Bad. Seasons 4 and 5 are fucking perfect. They're absolute perfection.
Yeah.
Including the best episode of television ever made in the third to last episode, directed by Ryan Johnson, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
But I think when they start Better Call Saul, they're at their fucking top level. Whereas Breaking Bad, they kind of had to like grow as filmmakers and stuff. And I just think by the time they got into Better Call Saul, it's like, and
they've
some
hit
people,
their stride.
yeah, and I think some people weren't able to get into it as much because it's not the same kind of show. Like, especially early on, it's a little bit more dramatic and legal stuff. As you go on, though, you get into more of the underworld and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this universe a lot. So it's definitely one I wanted to put on there, even though it kind of feels like it's a closed universe at this point. It's
Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be like I mean,
2 shows and a
throw
movie,
my
right?
throw my number 5 up there for us, if we will. My number 5 currently has nothing going on with it. It just finished actually with a 3-part 3 movies.
There we go.
Which is the Halloween.
And that's not over. It'll keep going.
I mean, I'm sure there will be more Halloween eventually, but as of right now, there's nothing right now.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
So for me, that's just that's something to understand where you're coming from with the Breaking Bad universe and everything like that. Is that it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be your top 5 right now.
Yeah.
I struggled with my number 5. I did not I couldn't think of a fifth one.
Oh, really?
Honestly, I was just like, what the fuck am I into? Like, what am I? I'm like, do I want to put Red Dead? I'm like, yeah, but that's just kind of like what game am I playing would fill that fifth spot right now kind of thing.
I felt that a little bit too, and I almost texted you. I'm like, do you want to make this a 4 instead of 5?
I almost asked you, but we had already said top 5, so I wanted to stick with what we had already said for the episode.
And I'm glad we did, because honestly, like, I do believe the Gilligan-verse belongs in my list right now, but it took me a bit to think of it. Because, again, it is close-ended, so I'm like, I'm not, like, if Better Call Saul was airing right now, it probably may have even been higher on my list.
It could have even been 1. I mean, you were willing to go 95 and, and everything for it.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, but I'm glad we kept it at 5, because it made me think outside the box and go, oh, fuck, yeah, dude, like, I'm not even a year removed from the finale. Like, I still love this show, and I can't wait to dive in and watch a full rewatch of Better Call Saul without having to wait, because I haven't done that yet. So, yeah, I'm glad we kept it. I don't know about you, but I'm glad we kept it at 5.
It's the same thing with me with Halloween. The 3rd movie just came out last October. I've literally watched the 3 new movies 1 time. I haven't gone back and rewatched them at all.
Oh yeah.
I need to go back and I need to commit to myself to watch more horror movies. I love horror, but I don't watch it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to watch a horror movie with my family. My daughter said she wanted to watch horror movies. Now she's backtracking, so it's kind of like, are we going to?
That's where you step. That's where you step in as a parent and just say, "Kid, you're watching this movie.
And
Get in there."
just traumatize her from there.
Okay, like I keep telling you, man.
You've said this multiple times.
Either you do it, or some little boy here in a couple of years is going to do it and take her to a movie in theaters. So, one or the other, sir. It'll happen. You know it. You know it to be true.
You make a valid point with that, but that's why Halloween's on my list, is because it's always there. I try to watch the original Halloween every single year, every Halloween. Yeah. It's a tradition for me that I watch that, if not on Halloween, at least around Halloween.
Yeah.
Because it is just so good, in my opinion. I love the original one.
John Carpenter.
I love the 3 new ones. The people who made that are coming out with a new horror film this October, right?
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist sequel.
Friday the 13th of which is October 13th.
I'm sure Hayden has to wash his hair that day.
Oh no, he's going, man. We're all going.
He is.
We all have to go.
I will say,
I can't wait for that legacy sequel for The Exorcist. Yeah.
Carol asks, Peter, are you watching the new season of Letterkenny yet? Oh, I binged that like the first weekend it came out. So yes, absolutely.
She also mentioned earlier about the splitting the seasons. I hate when they do that. Attack on Titans has been cut into 3 parts for the 4th and final season. Yeah, that shit annoys me, man. And I mean, Yellowstone's doing that. They basically cut it in half. I mean, it's going to be like multiple months between the first half and second half. Not a full year, but it's like, Jesus Christ, man.
I need to catch up on that. I'm behind by.
I would just wait.
I think we talked about it. I think I'm behind 2 episodes.
Yeah, I would just wait. Watch 1923, but I'd wait on Yellowstone. What's the hurry?
Yeah,
wait till it starts up again.
So that's my number 5. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I love Halloween.
Yeah,
I love Michael Myers.
Cool. And see, I take some credit for that too. You know, introducing
you
it
should
to the series
take credit
and
for
stuff.
it. The only reason I've seen Halloween is because of you. That's how I got introduced to it.
You should dive through and just watch them all, man.
I've done that before.
Yeah, I know, but it's just that's a fun way to, whatever. Maybe we'll have to do a Halloween saga series at some point.
Maybe we should. I know that what I should do is I should watch 1 and then the 3 new ones so that I have them together.
Yeah, for sure.
I should do that.
Yeah, there's a whole multi-layered thing there. You've got
because now it's like the Star Wars conversation. Which order do I watch them in?
Dude.
And everything like that. So
and I would say Star Trek's the more apt description, because Star Trek has the different timelines. There's like the Kelvin timeline with the J.J. Abrams movies, the original timeline.
I guess I was talking about like which episode. If someone's never seen Star Wars, which episode do you? How do you release order? Chronologically,
but that's how Halloween fans talk now. Is there's multiple timelines. You have the new trilogy Laurie Strode timeline, the Laurie Strode timeline that goes through H2O and Resurrection. You have the Jamie Lloyd strand 4, 5, and 6. Like, and then you have Halloween 3
and 4, 5, 6, and
no, that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Resurrection.
That's the Laurie Strode.
That's on the Laurie Strode H2O.
Yeah, because she gets killed at the beginning.
That's right. That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Carol says Tad is glowing. Take all the credit. I mean,
Tad absolutely deserves the credit. I would not be in the horror films.
It's one of my favorite horror movies too. Like honestly, it could have been on my list as well. So I am happy to see it on yours.
Honestly, surprised that it's not on your list. What's your number 4 though? Let's go.
let's see. I should have done this slideshow a little bit better. But my number 4, probably no surprise to anyone that has followed us over. It's Stephen King. I actually
Literally just finished a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, just finished
And
Revival.
you're reading another one.
Reading 11/22/63.
There you
I do think so. I on the Stephen King side, my goal is to read everything. As part of that, I've made a rule that I have to read 2 new King novels before I could reread anything.
Yep.
So I do think that after 11/22/63 reread, at least one of my 2 new ones, I'm doing Sleeping Beauties.
With
So,
him and his son.
with him
Owen.
and Owen, because Joe Hill helped him on the 11/22/63. The
two
last
sons?
stretch. So I'm like, oh, I may as well. And you read it and told me it was good and stuff.
Oh, it's good.
But yeah, I mean, I love Stephen King. I do a whole podcast on Stephen King. We both do. So
We
it's
do.
like, love it, love him, love reading his stuff. I almost text you, I'm like, do we count Stephen King? Because the other
counts.
podcast, I'm like, but it has
We're
to
not.
count.
We're
Yeah.
not going to. Okay, I'm going to put this out there. We're not going to ignore Stephen King.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go in depth on Stephen King because we do have a podcast called Dark Tower Palaver, which is our first podcast we've been doing since 2015.
Yeah.
So 8 years we've been doing Dark Tower Palaver, which is about Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, and now the wider King universe. So we both love Stephen King, obviously, and everything. So
Yeah.
if it comes to Stephen King stuff and you're coming here looking for it on Geekery Abides,
Wrong spot.
wrong spot. Go to Dark Tower Palaver.
But we, in cases like this, we have to address him.
You
right?
can't exclude him just because we have another show.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
absolutely not.
Exactly.
Absolutely
And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, I finished Revival this weekend and I started 11/22/63. So I'm like right in the middle of a transition and I'm in the middle of this
Yep.
whole thing. I'm 60-something% away through all of his stuff. I just crossed the 60% mark. And I was just like, that hit me as I was thinking about this more because I don't think it was even originally on my list because I left it off for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was thinking about it more as we were getting closer to recording, I have to have him on here, man. He's
Yeah,
just-
you have to.
It's too big of a thing.
I'm glad that you
So.
didn't leave him off. I'm glad of that.
Yeah.
So let's go to my number 4, which is
Should be on the screen now. I mean, people are probably a little bit off of.
got a little bit of a delay,
delay,
for me.
yeah.
Number 4 for me is Star Wars. We talked about it with, like you said, with the introductions and everything like that. Is Star Wars is one of the biggest things in my life.
Yeah.
It has fallen off. There are reasons for that. And I don't know if I've mentioned them on the show, but one of the biggest problems I have with Star Wars now is the fan base. Some part of the fan base can be so toxic.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a fan of something when people are just being such pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the people who dislike something. That is not who I'm talking about. And I'm going to look directly at this camera for this. I'm not talking about the people who dislike something. Your opinion is your opinion. You're entitled to it. But the second you start telling people to self-harm themselves because you don't like their performance in a movie, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? That's where I draw the line. And that's the problem I have is that there was actors and actresses in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker who were getting bullied online and being told to go fucking kill themselves. And that is just... I hate that.
Yeah. I've largely unplugged. I don't remember.
I had to as well.
I don't remember when that happened. I think it was somewhere after The Force Awakens, but before everything else that I just was hard for me because I mean that's most of my childhood has been plugged into the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah.
But it just came to a point where I'm like, you know what, this is more of a negative than not. So there's still a few podcasts I listen to and stuff, but like in general, I largely I'm not as plugged into the Star Wars fandom as I have been since I was 5.
One of the biggest things for me is Reddit. I love Reddit. I go on Reddit constantly. I have found more and more that I'm moving away from Reddit because I can't find positive things. More and more times it leads to things that upset me. One of the things was just simply I had 4 Star Wars subreddits, and I'm down to 1.
Yeah.
It's-
Which ones are? I mean, I think I only have is prequel memes in the main one.
I had Star Wars. I had Star Wars Expanded Universe on there for a while.
Yeah,
That one
that's
is-
gonna be trouble
That
there,
one,
man.
as soon as Disney bought, I went there and I was there for a little bit, and then I realized what it was.
Oh, man,
after because it was after Disney bought it that I joined.
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh no.
It was my
I unfollowed, took it off, blocked it, all that kind of
yeah
stuff.
my first celebration, which is where they unveiled the teaser, the Chewie We're Home teaser. That was my first Star Wars Celebration. I went to a panel. This is right after the purchase. The things were still unclear how everything's going to work, but they had talked about the whole the EU was basically thrown out the window, and they're going to start a whole new thing. And now everything that's published under Star Wars Publishing is considered full canon, which was never the case in the EU, despite what people think. But I went to a panel where they were talking to I just blanked on the name of the publisher, but the publisher behind all the Star Wars novels, and they had some of the writers there, and they had some of the whatever. And dude, I remember just looking around and realizing like just how nasty these people were, like kind of being towards these, and that was like a revelation for me. Where I was like, holy shit, dude, and like that was like kind of the end of the EU for me. Where I almost actively cheer for like the destruction of the EU stuff as much as I enjoyed it.
When they go against EU and say something that's against what they introduced.
Yeah, like again, I'm not saying this as a non EU person, because I was. You were too.
I loved the expanded universe.
I probably read like 100 or so Star Wars novels.
Not that many for me, but I'm up there.
Over the decades, and most of it the post Return of the Jedi stuff. So most of it was
we
EU.
The Thrawn stuff. It was fantastic.
But now
one of my favorite things was Rogue Squadron, because like we talked about earlier, I love
stuff,
the Starfighter stuff.
Yeah. So I've seen that, and I think that's about the time that I started to realize, and I think there I started to like slowly step back. But I think it probably was, and then like honestly, it was good because like. But then the Last Jedi came, and like there was a lot of people that had like a lot of whatever, and I was just so glad that I wasn't plugged in. I was able to just enjoy the movie without other people's input.
And that's what it came down to for me, is that I moved away from a lot of it. I still have prequel memes on there. It's mostly just goofy, silly memes.
And there's a love. There's a love for it there.
There's a love there.
There's
and
a love
that's the
there.
thing is like I see prequel memes and Lord of the Rings memes teaming up to go against the MCU memes and shit like that. It's fun. And that's what this should be. Star Wars should be fun. So for me, that's why Star Wars dropped so low. Star Wars would be number one probably on my all-time fandom. I fucking love Star Wars. But that's the reason why it's so low. And I'm sorry I got so like hot and bothered there.
No,
it's something that needs to be said anytime that it's talked about, is that it's not okay to do that.
And the thing is like what's weird is it may be kind of a revelation for us a bit, but this is a long-term thing. You mentioned earlier the prequels.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of nasty shit towards
a
lot. I mean, like I loved it a couple years ago when I just blanked. Ahmed Best, that played Jar Jar Binks, did a tweet or a string of tweets where he talked about at one point he was considering suicide.
Yeah.
Because of the way he was treated
and
by
that's
Star
not
Wars
okay.
fans. I mean, Jake Lloyd, that played young Anakin Skywalker, I believe is in a mental hospital at this point because he's had complete issues with like a complete breakdown basically, and a large part of it is just how he's been treated and what his life has been since being in the movies.
Hayden Christensen wouldn't go to conventions because of how he was treated.
Yeah, he largely stopped acting. I mean, just so like toxic Star Wars fandom unfortunately has been a thing for a long time, but I think I was able to just kind of ignore it through most of the prequel era.
And you've helped me through it. That's the big thing, is having you with me through this the dark time. And everything like that. It has helped a lot. Because you still get excited for Star Wars, and Star Wars is on your list, and it's higher than mine, obviously. Yeah. So it's refreshing to have a friend who's able to stay so positive as you, and just be like, dude, just enjoy what you enjoy, and just let other people shit on it.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that you have to listen.
Yeah, and like even like me, I try as hard as I can to like mostly pull my punches, because like I did not enjoy The Rise of Skywalker. It's the only Star Wars movie I've ever walked out of not loving.
You did. I remember.
It was a confusing thing for me because that never happened before.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, I discussed some of the outside when we sit outside the theaters. Our normal thing is, I think you guys were all shocked. I'm like, I don't think I really liked it. There were some elements I liked, but like whatever. But I was in a weird spot. It's like, this has never happened to me before. It's like whatever. But like honestly, have you heard me completely unload on The Last Jedi? Or no, I'm sorry, not Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi. The Rise of Skywalker. Have you ever heard me just completely fucking? Because
what you said when we walked out of the theater,
I pointed out
was the
some
most
stuff
that you've talked about. Negative,
because you guys generally like it. And I have thrown some barbs here and there, but I've never just like full on shit on it because you guys seem to enjoy it. So I'm like, why? And
why poop on their parade?
And at some point, I think this show we're probably going to have to get into it.
Yeah,
and
we are going to talk about the sequels at some point.
But I'm not going to. For me, it's never malicious. It's more of just how I view things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. That one.
Carol says, I get my Stephen King news from Dark Tower Palaver, and now I can get my other news from here. I do not use social media anymore because it's toxic, and I encourage my clients to wean themselves off of it. And when they do, they always say that they feel better.
Yeah.
Mike says, I hear you, Carol. I don't use social media because I see it as a waste of time. And that is
Yeah.
the thing, is like, it is a large part of it is that online, we've talked about this, is online
Yeah.
just gives people the chance to be nasty without having to face to face,
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Yeah.
How many people would walk up to Ahmed Best, who is a tall, big motherfucker,
Yeah.
and be like, you're a piece of shit?
Yeah.
No, but online they can do it as much as they want.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's move on.
I will say
yeah.
though, as the kind of a little bit of a redemption for me is in 2017. 2 years later, I ended up going to Star Wars Celebration in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that was, I believe, the first time that Hayden Christensen had been to a
Yeah.
Star Wars Celebration since 2002 in the lead up for
Revenge of the Sith.
Attack of the Clones,
Attack of the
2002.
Clones.
So
Yeah.
because when he got introduced as the
Oh,
actor
that's
behind
right,
Anakin
yeah.
Skywalker, and I will say, I mean, I was in that room. I'm getting chills thinking about it. It's probably one of my top. Maybe I should save this a little, but ultimately, what it came down to though is when Hayden was introduced, I honestly think there's a possibility that he got a louder cheer than Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
which was also there. So it was close. Harrison, that was big. But then when
Harrison doesn't do conventions.
no, he
either.
doesn't.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he was going to come to the one that I went to in 2015, but I think it was around the time he had some kind of piloting issue.
Yeah.
So
Harrison, not Hayden.
yeah, Harrison.
Yeah.
Hayden though, he got one of the loudest cheers, and I adored that because again, is one that's from the outside seen the negativity towards him since 2002. It was just incredible to hear a room of a couple thousand people just give him the love that he rightly deserves, because I think he fucking killed it in those movies.
Yeah.
So love that.
Let's go on. What's your number 3?
For me, number 3 right now is Superman.
Makes sense.
I don't remember now. I'm blanking whether I had him on my DNA. I don't think I did because we kept that smaller. It was
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. So that was only 4. So
Yeah.
may not have been mentioned, but I have mentioned him before on here. I know we're only 4 episodes in. I love Superman. Always have. It's one of my first things I've ever loved. I remember being a wee little, probably 3 or 4 year old running around the yard with a
Towel.
tied around my neck because that's Superman. I watched the Max Fleischer cartoons, which were actually done in the 40s. I grew up watching those because I think they were not copyrighted, so people could just fucking make tapes and just sell
Yep.
$2.99 for a VHS that has a couple episodes on it. Love that. Just the movies, the comic. But right now, it's just huge. I feel like I've just, in the last probably 8 months or so, my love for Superman has been, I don't want to say my love's grown, but my interest in Superman's grown heavier. I plugged into like the Superman subreddit. I've been reading a lot of Superman comics, which I've actually never done before. Superman's always been more cartoons and movies for me. So I've been reading Superman cartoons. I mentioned in my what I'm reading, the Son of Superman stuff now with his son John Kent, which is the new Superman. I've been reading the hell out of that. I've been reading a bunch of kind of looking up like top 10 lists of like what are the 10 greatest Superman storylines and reading through those. Excited about the James Gunn movie. I just feel like right now I'm just like fucking teaming with. I mean, honestly, in December, if some fucking stupid ass tattoo artist had actually hit me back up, I probably would even have a Superman tattoo.
Oh, really?
But he just kind of ghosted me. When I was on my vacation, I went into a shop where I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do. I just want to get the Superman logo on my arm or whatever. And there was a guy that was doing another tattoo. There wasn't a lot of people there. He was like, oh, yeah, the guy that's doing one now. He said hit him up on social media and he'll, get you an appointment. Yeah, he never followed back up with me.
Oh,
But
man.
if he had, I would have a which is on my docket. Probably my next tattoo will be that.
Tad
so.
does have one tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. Tad does have one tattoo, and it is a Star Wars tattoo. So it's exciting to hear you plan out future ones.
Yeah,
and I know you've talked about a couple of
because it's been a long time.
Yeah,
I think my tattoo I've got now is about 18 or 19 years old.
it's old enough to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike says Superman was number 3 on Tad's list from episode 1, so it was on your Mount Rushmore.
I was about to say I kind of was feeling like it was, but
was.
I'm foggy.
I think you had Superman and I had Batman. Both of us had
Yeah,
Batman.
I guess because ultimately, I mean, that was also as a young kid, that was my introduction to like the superhero
The
genre,
Adventures of
and,
Superman and everything like that, the cartoon.
and just comic books in general.
Yeah.
I mean, later on I would get into like Marvel through my dad and stuff, but like Superman was there since I was age 4, so that makes total sense because that would have been in my DNA. like the core of what superheroes are to me is I mean, he's the original superhero. Like he's the start of it all. But yeah, in terms of right now, I just think I'm more stoked and plugged into Superman than I have been for all. He's always there. He's always like in my DNA.
Exactly.
But right now, dude, I'm just like, as much as I'm reading and stuff, like I'm probably gonna. They just announced the original not Richard Donner, the Christopher Reeve 4 movies are getting a 4K remasters and coming out in a box set. So probably buying those. Can't wait to watch them on.
Yeah.
I just upgraded them all to Blu-ray, which makes sense that they would then announce the 4Ks.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but yeah. So
I don't know if we've covered this on Geekery Abides, but Tad is a physical media collector. You could see the movie shelf behind him has all those movies on there. He actually has 2 of them in his office here.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother one to my left here.
Plus all the stuff up
and then
up
everything
top.
up on top, which you can't see is out of frame, is box sets and stuff like that. There's multiple movies that you own multiples of.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about buying it in Blu-ray and then buying it again on 4K, Tad's going to keep all of those. For some of those movies, you do.
I mean, over the holiday break, I did get rid of a lot, and you took a bunch. And
I did take.
I still have a bunch I need to give to Hayden too, because
Yeah.
shelf space is getting tough. So there is a lot of stuff where I'm starting to make some difficult cuts. Where I'm like, hey, if I've got something on 2, I've got to get rid of the older ones. So,
but Terminator 2 is still.
I mean, there's
the record.
There's a couple exceptions there for sure.
But so let's go to my number 3, which is Stephen King verse, which is just everything Stephen King, which makes sense. It's on Tad's at number 4, mine number 3. Like we said, we have another show that covers it basically. I got into Stephen King because of this man in high school. He had me read Salem's Lot for the sole purpose of getting me into the Dark Tower, which is what our other podcast started out as being. It's literally called Dark Tower Palabbers because we talk about the series that is the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
But I've read more than you.
Yeah,
in the Stephen King verse,
which I knew. I figured that
you knew that once I got in, I'd be.
Well,
in.
no, we made a bet a couple years ago when we made that list. Before the list is getting made, I'm like, I think you read more than me. You're like, there's no way.
You're crazy. Well, you've been into Stephen King since you were 5.
Yeah, I
was like, there's no way that I've read more than you. And then we found out, yeah, I have. And I continue to read more because I like reading new.
Yeah.
I go back and revisit a few regulars.
Yeah.
Over it is my all-time favorite Stephen King outside of the Dark Tower. Don't ask me to pick between the 2.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a series and there's a solo book. So you just say your favorite overall King thing or your favorite King standalone.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're going to go with. It's like making Tad choose between The Stand and the Dark Tower.
Hey, you go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's it for Stephen King. I mean, we don't need to cover it too much. Like I said, go listen to the last 8 years of our other show if you want to see that. So let's jump to Tad's number 2, which is...
Star Wars. So yeah, I have it a little bit higher than you.
Yep.
But it isn't number 1 currently. But yeah, I mean, I like I just talked about, love it, gone to the conventions and stuff. I've been plugged into like Fandoms since I was a wee lad. I remember just like some of the earliest days on the internet outside of Scream, which I mentioned in the last episode.
Yep.
I was spent time on message boards. The other message boards I would have been on would have been Star Wars message boards.
Yep.
The expanded universe, I probably started hitting that not long after I started reading novel length books. Like I said, I've read I think at one point I counted them up and I'd read around 100 of them.
Wow.
Which most of the Return of the Jedi shit. And I actually at one point started going chronologically and just hitting every book, which was a very interesting thing because there's some that you hit where you're just like, oh my God, I want to kill myself. This is fucking terrible, dude. There were some that were fucking god awful, dude. Like bad. Like I don't even know what are some of the ones like Tommy Knockers.
Oh,
Stephen
horrible.
King wise, dude, I guarantee I could find some Star Wars novels post Return of the Jedi that I could give you because I think I've steered you away from them where I was because there were some I read where I'm like I can't fucking finish this book. It's like it literally is like torture. I couldn't. I was like every page I was just like, but I have that mindset where I'm like there might be something that might connect to something else, or I gotta read it. So I forced myself through it. It was miserable.
I remember tapering off. There's the is it the New Jedi Order series where it's the Yusavong invasion, where it's a species outside of the known galaxy comes in and just starts taking over the galaxy.
You got the right shirt for that story there.
Chewbacca!
As Chewbacca is unceremoniously destroyed in that series. But Yeah, no, and then you look at those, there's like 12 or so books in that series. So it's like when I go through and I added it up at one point, I got one of the newest books and I went through that list and I just started checking them off in the thing, which some people would probably freak out that I was writing in a book, but
how dare you monster.
But I had to, and I ended up finding I was right about 100 that I had read. And again, almost all of it post Return of the Jedi. I hardly ever read any of the prequel era stuff.
Yeah.
I just never, for me, it was always about post Return of the Jedi. But it's funny too, because again, since I was plugged into that, and those are the ones that are most negative a lot of times toward the movies because they didn't follow things like, Luke's not married to Mara Jade and all this other nonsense. But it's like the more
Han and Leia don't have twins named
Jaina and Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Jaina?
Jaina, yeah.
Jaina.
But see, overall, like now I can look back at it where it's like as much as I enjoyed those at the time, if they would have adapted this stuff, it would have been terrible. It would
not have been as good.
Well, I mean, what I told someone once is like the problem is that originally you started with a couple novels. And then over time, a few more, and eventually got to a spot where authors were just finding little like because there's like kind of a base calendar of like this happens a year later or whatever. It got to the point where it's like if you actually looked at it like as a real timeline, literally every like year there's some new fucking thing going on where it's like.
It was crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis,
and every crisis wanted to feel like it was. It just felt like the old like serials, not in a good like Lucas is trying to make serials movies way. It felt like where it's just like.
Every single week is the end of the universe.
Exactly. And it was just like, and you had different authors with different writing styles. One of my things I absolutely loathe, and it snuck into a few of the movies too, is when a character, they take some fucking minor ass one-line character, put them into a book, and they said the same fucking line.
Yeah.
So fuck the writer of Rogue One who put that I have the death sentence whatever with Dr. What's his name where he shows up, they just randomly run into him. Of course he says the exact same fucking line that he said in A New Hope.
Yeah.
I love Rogue One, but that is one of the worst that's a cringe moment for me because it's just like they did that throughout the EU. Every fucking Imperial officer that had one line, they'd show back up and they would inevitably say that one fucking line. It's like, are these Pokemon that go around saying one fucking thing their whole goddamn lives?
Yeah.
It was the worst aspect of the expanded universe, and it happened constantly. And every freaking even big character, how many times Lando would say the same fucking line over and over, and it's like, dude, you guys are not good at this. So I'm glad that they broke away from that. But I love Star Wars. I mean, it's I mean Mandalorian. The
Mandalorian's so fucking good,
bringing back the Clone Wars and finishing that off was a masterful thing. Rebels. I am of the type to say Rebels is better than Clone Wars. I know a lot of people disagree with me. I'm going against the grain on that, but I fucking loved Rebels.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's gonna be badass.
Mandalorian, Bad Batch. I've fallen a little bit behind on, but I'm enjoying that show too.
I see. I need to rewatch season 1 of Bad Batch and watch season 2 because it just didn't click for me.
Yeah.
Like it did, like Clone Wars did when I watched it through Clone Wars. I watched the new season of Clone Wars, which is really like the here. Let's conclude it.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up with a bow kind of thing.
Yeah, which was great.
And we got introduced to the Bad Batch in there and everything. And the characters didn't click for me and everything.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in a better place now where I'd probably enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I do need to try that.
But yeah, so Star Wars, it's huge for me. I love Star Wars. I'm digging it. I would love to see them kind of get back into the movie realm a little bit. I'm a little bit annoyed that the movies just keep kind of whatever, and it's because it's like ultimately to me, Star Wars is always going to be a primarily a movie thing.
Right.
I love the shows, but it's like, come on, man, I want to be sitting in a movie theater and seeing that opening crawl.
Well, one of the big things for you that you love about films is experiencing them on that opening weekend with people.
Shared experience.
Even though we went and saw Star Wars Thursday night for the premiere, you would still go with your dad who loves Star Wars just as much as you, if not more. You guys collected toys together and everything like that.
Yeah.
You would go see it with him like Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah.
To be with that opening crowd, to see his reaction, to hear other people's reaction. And now that you've seen the movie one time, you know the like, okay, I want to pay attention for this scene, and this scene. But the rest of it is kind of like not people watching, but people experiencing.
Yeah.
Because you want to see them experience the film.
Yeah.
It's like what you talked about with like A Quiet Place too, or A Quiet Place. You're like, it's just something unworldly to see that movie in theaters because it's so quiet.
Yeah,
and
nobody's making
people
sound.
Like, you're like, it is just such a weird.
People walking out with full buckets of popcorn because they didn't dare eat it.
They didn't dare eat it because it was too loud and everything like that. So
you know what's strange though about the whole rewatch thing?
Yeah.
I had no indication that I would not like The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I went to 2017's celebration, which was leading up to that. Like, so that was the big thing. I mean, Carrie had just passed away, so it really felt like kind of a celebratory wake for Carrie as well. But they were, the first trailer I think was there. Like, there was a whole, or no, it wasn't. But there was a lot to do with that. So I thought I was whatever, but for some weird reason, I had no inkling. This is just almost an accident of fate. I never bought multiple tickets for The Rise of Skywalker.
Really?
So I only had the opening one, and I'm kind of glad because I didn't overly enjoy it. So I'm glad I didn't have like 4 or 5 showtimes bought out that weekend because normally I did almost every other one I did. And again, it's not that I like anticipated not liking it because I didn't. I went in just like I can't fucking wait for this. Like it was they debuted the title and stuff when I was there because I remember laying in the fucking thing because you had to stay in line overnight, so I was like sleeping on the ground and shit. And I remember just 2 things dawned on me as I was waiting for that opening panel that like Harrison and Hayden were at, Hayden Christensen. There's 2 things that hit me. I was like, dude, what if the title had just Skywalker in it? And I remember having that thought because I was
Star Wars Episode 6
the subtitle. I'm like, something Skywalker might be in it because it's never been in a title before.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it fucking struck me, but then of course 12 hours later at the fucking panel they unveil it and I was like, I was right. And then the only other thing I heard someone mention John Williams and I'm like, what if he's here?
And he was.
Yeah. They raised a curtain, and I'm getting chills, dude. That's
you love John Williams, too. That's something that we need to convey because it's not something we've covered on this show yet. Tad loves movie
film
scores
is one of my favorite things of nerdery in general. We'll have to, I know you're not as much into it, so I don't know if it'll be a full episode, but I do at some point want to geek out. But especially,
I don't have a problem with you geeking out to me about an episode. That's what this show is about. Is Tad, if you want to go hog wild and you want to geek out on something, I'm here to listen for 2 hours. I'll do it. You want to talk about film scores? Let's do it.
But John Williams is the master for me. Yeah. He's the maestro. And I just had given up the point. I mean, he was pushing 90 at the time. He's over 90 now. I was like, in my head, I'm just like, I probably will never get a chance to see him conduct in person. Just whatever. But I remember laying it on the ground. I had packed a pillow, so I had a pillow. Yep. But I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, what if he's here for this? And then, when they raised that curtain, I saw him, dude. It was just like, choked up a little bit. Yep. And then the first thing he played was the Princess Leia theme.
Oh, right after she passed too.
Because again, like I said, the whole thing was kind of somber because it felt like a little bit of a wake for her. Because she was super plugged into the celebration scenes and stuff. Yeah. But then he went through a whole thing and played a number of themes and stuff, and it was just magical because I was just like, George Lucas is up there on stage, Harrison Ford, Hayden Christensen, and there's John fucking Williams with it wasn't the full orchestra, but I don't know what you call like the parse down where they have just the basics, but it was that, and I was just like, I'm here listening to fucking John Williams conduct live. So that was one of my favorite moments of the last number of years. But I will say, I owe you a lot. You got me an autograph of my favorite character. Oh yeah, and he passed away.
Peter Mayhew passed away shortly after you got me an autograph of Chewbacca, my boy Chewbacca. I love him. One last thing I want to say on Star Wars before we jump to my number 2. I will say that I did buy Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic on Steam the other day. It was on sale for like $2.
I own it because there was one point there was a sale where it was like 20 Star Wars games for $20 or something like that. So it has like a couple of Lego games, like all these like the old school PC games as well as Knights of the Old Republic. The 2 were there, so I own it too. I've never flipped it on, but I've got a shitload of Star Wars games.
I will say that I have been craving jumping into the Knights of the Old Republic. I fucking love KOTOR, dude. It's
the
great.
fact that right now like people play that on their phone.
Yeah.
That used to be a console game for us.
That's
now
so unreal, dude.
It's crazy.
Well, let's go to my number 2.
Real quick, let's catch up on the chat.
Yeah, Carol says, that's so awesome, Tad. I'll listen to. Mike says, same. Spoiler, my favorite would be Back to the Future after all of Star Wars, so that's cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's it. So let's go ahead and transition. Yours on screen there. Your number 2 is?
Batman. I have a Batman wall. Literally, it's a Batman poster followed by 4 shelves around. We may see it at some point on the show. Batman.
Do you have like a life size? What do they call those? Like the fat head stickers of Penguin?
No.
From Danny DeVito's Penguin from.
Disgusting.
No.
I mean, he could be in his full regalia, not the onesie.
Stop it.
Why not?
Just stop.
What if I bought you one? Would you?
You know I don't like penguins, so stop it. But. Batman was a huge thing for me as a kid. I love the Michael Keaton 1989 Batman. I love Batman Returns. I do not remember as a kid watching Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. I don't think my dad owned them. so I don't know if I necessarily knew they existed. But I lived for 3 cartoons as a kid. I lived for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I lived for X-Men, the classic 90s cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
And then I lived for Batman, the animated series.
I mean, of the people our age, that's pretty universal.
That's pretty
those
universal.
Those are two of the most like iconic things of like children of the 90s.
Turtles, I've looked into it afterwards. Turtles actually ended and Batman started. So I think that's one of the reasons why I got so into the Batman the Animated Series is that I stopped watching Turtles because it stopped having new episodes and stuff. I started watching Batman instead. Then I liked The Dark Knight, the Nolan trilogy, I should say.
Yeah.
I loved the Joker. Joker is one that changed my perspective on actors. I went into The Dark Knight thinking that Heath Ledger was the worst fucking possible pick for a Joker.
Most of us did.
I thought it was an absolute joke and a travesty to the character that they were doing this. I walked out of the theater admitting I was wrong, swallowing my pride, and going, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Ben Affleck got cast as Batman.
Pattinson.
And everyone was like, what the fuck are you thinking? This is the stupidest thing. And I went, Heath Ledger.
Same with Pattinson.
Yeah,
He had
people
the
keep
same-
saying it. They're like, I'm not. I haven't watched the new Bat. I literally had this happen. And I had a conversation with one of our coworkers Thursday, and he saw my phone, which has a fucking Batman wallpaper on it for the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and he's like, "Oh, I never saw that because I didn't know how I would feel about having a Twilight freak as Batman." And I'm just like, dude, Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And he went, "What?" And I'm like, how'd you feel about Heath Ledger going into The Dark Knight? I thought it was a bad choice. And I'm like, and now?
What about I mean, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit outside of our age
Michael
range.
Keaton.
Michael Keaton, dude.
People were like, you can't have a comedic actor as Batman.
There's
I remember that. I've heard about
there's
that
news
since.
clips that
Yeah.
you can still find on YouTube of where they're interviewing people
Off the street.
with their reactions,
Yep.
and people, he's not buff enough.
He's not tall enough.
He's not tall enough. He's
Yeah.
a funny guy. Like,
And he has one of the best lines in Batman history.
yeah, oh yeah.
I'm Batman.
And dude, on that, my favorite part of that video though,
Yeah.
is someone's like, oh, they should have cast someone like Schwarzenegger.
Dude,
Can you
no.
Can you imagine?
I'm Batman.
Can you imagine, dude?
No.
I remember, and that was like the cherry on top when I was
Yeah.
watching that video. I ran over my thing like a couple weeks ago, and I watched through it because I love Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Like he's my Batman, definitive Batman. Where it's just like I grew up on that and stuff. I remember being a wee lad getting a Batman mask, and it
Yeah.
like kind of went down a little bit to the. It wasn't just like a top of the head. It was
Go
like
down inside the
it
shirt.
had the neck thing and stuff. So. And I remember like just loving Batman but it's that movie, dude. I love those first two movies. I mean, I've loved the animated series you're talking about as well. But
Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman this year in the Flash
dude,
movie.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
So excited.
But
for
so you got me. We talked about this in the first episode, so I'll just be brief on this. You got me back into Batman by buying me. You got me into the comics of Batman, is what I should say.
that. Yeah.
In extent, Arkham City sparked my re-love for Batman. The Arkham games. I play Arkham Knight once a year, easy. Sometimes twice a year. I'll play it in January, and I'll play it again in November or December. I'm itching again for another playthrough right now, and it's one of those games that's like Red Dead, where it's like, oh, did you know that if you did this way, this happens? It's like, wait, what? I can do that?
Yeah.
So, like, just like different things. You've played the Batman game,
Yeah.
the Arkham Knight game. Did you know the guy that detects your detective mode?
Yeah.
Did you know that you can tag his gun with the disruptor, stand behind him, and then just stay in detective mode? And it goes, wait a minute, this can't be right. It says he's right behind me, and then he whips around and his gun's disrupted, so you just knock him out. Dude, it is the funniest fucking thing on the planet. So I love Batman. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
But we need to get to our number one, because we share a number one, Tad.
Should we just do them both?
Let's just do them both. We share it, so why not?
All right. So, it's the Marvel Cinematic. Well, for me, it was a two-parter. I kind of cheated because I said Marvel, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because
That's fine. That's the same fandom.
I have
if I can be a fan of Batman comics, Batman
movies,
animated movies,
shows,
and Batman games,
Yeah.
you can be a fan of everything Marvel. That's fine.
because I mean,
For me, it's just the cinematic universe.
and for me, I grew up on like again, my dad was a reader in like the 70s and stuff, so like I inherited some comic books from him. There was the X-Men animated series, all the Marvel movies of the late 2000s, early 2000s, late 90s, like the Spider-Man, X-Men movies. I love all that, but then obviously the MCU, and then recently, I think it was about 8-9 months ago, I signed back up for the Marvel Unlimited app, and I've just been diving in. I think even last time I talked about last couple episodes, I've talked about reading the Daredevil run with Frank Miller. That's actually how I got into the whole. I talked about how I dove back into my chronological list. I haven't touched that in a couple years, but I was like going to pull up my tablet, and I was getting ready to pull the Marvel Unlimited app up, and I'm like, another Daredevil issue. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm feeling that. So I pulled up my Google thing, and I ended up finding that chronological checklist. I'm like, where did I leave off? I'm like, let's just dive back in.
Let's just go.
So for me, it is more all encompassing, but the MCU is a big part of it. I mean, that's probably the reason it's here and not lower on the list. Is the MCU? I've adored it. I mean, I will somewhat brag that I've been to opening night for every movie since Iron Man in 2008. Because again,
That's unreal, dude.
I'm a Marvel fan. I love it. So it's like I've never.
You also did the Age of Ultron gauntlet.
Yeah, I actually still. I don't know if I. Maybe a little dusty, but I even have a certificate. Let's see. I don't know if how it'll show here, but yeah.
Hold it in front of the camera; it'll focus on it.
Well,
right?
there's the ring light too. So yeah, got a little certificate. I have a medal too, but that's in a box.
Okay.
Elsewhere, I actually just ran over that recently. It's like a whole medal they gave because it was basically.
Let me read this.
Oh.
Certificate of Heroic Completion. Megaplex Theaters proudly represents the certificate of heroic endurance and completion of the 26.5 hour Ultimate Marvel Marathon, located exclusively at a Megaplex Theaters in Utah on Wednesday, April 29th and on Wednesday, April 29th and Thursday, April 30th, 2015. This document verifies and certifies the holder witnessed and the epic adventures of Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Hulk, Black Widow, and other members of S.H.I.E.L.D. through all 11 Marvel movies listed here during the dates included.
Yeah.
Tad saw 11 movies in one go.
Yeah, back to back, straight through. I'm also going to brag a bit.
Brag it.
Because there were some people that brought pillows and pillowcases, or not
blankets,
sleeping bags and stuff, and they specifically chose specific movies to go and take a nap, and they'd go sit just outside the theater and sleep. I'm like, dude,
what's the point?
What the hell's the point? Because me, I didn't sleep a fucking wink, man. 5 hour energy, 5 hour energies. They did a whole thing where you could pay like $20-$30 to have unlimited popcorn and drinks the whole time. I would get up, go to the bathroom, splash water on my face. So I wasn't in for every single frame.
Yeah.
But like, I'd take a couple, and then between the movies, there's a slight couple minute break or whatever.
They had to load the next movie, load it up and everything.
And by the end, I shouldn't have driven home.
No, you
in
should not
retrospect, I was actually like, I don't want to say I was hallucinating, but I was getting close for like sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mike says that's called the Large Bladder Award.
Yeah, and like I said, I did go to the bathroom and all that stuff, but yeah, it was like 26, 27 hours. It was long, and I had to go see Age of Ultron again because two things: they put the last fucking movie in 3D, which is garbage. I hate 3D except for Avatar. But also I was so fucking punchy. That,
he was.
But yes.
I remember talking to him a couple days after it happened, and I was just like, Tad, are you okay?
That still comes up on my Facebook memory because I would post like, okay, going into
time
this
movie. Time for this movie.
And stuff. So,
and I'm home, like, you asked me if I wanted to do it. I'm like, dude, you're fucking nuts. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. It was rough. I would never go more than that. Like, there was some talk that they may, like, think about it for the future. I'm like, no. That is the absolute limit,
That's the farthest
man.
I could
That's
do.
the limit. That's nuts.
Over a day's worth of movies straight.
Yeah, straight through.
Like,
yeah,
wow,
it's tough for sure. But yeah, so for me,
that makes sense why Marvel's number one for you.
Yeah, I love it. I just love what's going on. I mean, I know there's some people that are bitching about some stuff a little bit now with like fatigue or whatever. I still love everything we're seeing, man.
That's
like
literally you just took the words out of my mouth. I literally had a question asking you about how do you feel about like the superhero fatigue that we keep hearing about.
People keep hearing about it, man, but I fucking love it. I just keep hooking it to my veins, man.
We literally just went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I will will say not every single thing I love as much as ever. Like, you know, it's hit or miss on some. Some I don't love as like I don't love. I'm trying to think recently what I don't know, but fill in the blank. There's some that maybe I don't love as much as I loved, like Infinity War, which was probably one of my favorites, if not my all-time favorite. But it still doesn't mean I didn't enjoy them. I guess like the last Thor, maybe I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as like the one prior Ragnarok. Or whatever. But like still, I was like, I love that they're doing different things. They're not just doing the same movie, right? That was kind of like off the
rinse
wall.
and repeat.
Yeah, it was kind of way different. I feel like there's some people too that bitch where they're just like, oh, these are all the same movie. But then when they do something different, like Eternals, they're like, oh, this fucking sucks, you know, whatever.
It's
like
it's too different.
Yeah, it's too different. It's like
That's where you're just like, what the hell do you want then?
yeah, they can't win.
Yeah.
And then TV show wise, I love everything we've seen so far. I just love it. I mean, again, growing up with Marvel, I wasn't like super deep into Marvel. My dad had some stuff like Captain America, X-Men. I had some Hulk issues, whatever. But like, I wasn't like going to the comic shops because there wasn't as many in the 90s as there would have been in the 70s and 80s when my dad was growing up. But like, I wasn't like going to comic shops and like buying shit. So I didn't have as wide of like I was familiar with some characters more through like, oh, here's a big crossover issue or whatever. But to now be in a spot where I'm like seeing like fucking Moon Knight in live action on screen, that I'm seeing Spider-Man fight Captain America. I mean, just some of the shit we're seeing is just like, I mean, back in the day in like the early 2000s, like Spider-Man was having a hard time. I mean, before the Tobey Maguire movies hit, they spent 15 years trying to get a Spider-Man movie off the ground. They couldn't do it. Yeah. You know, and then they finally got it. And then from there, it's like whatever. But now to the point where we're like, dude, we got fucking Doctor Strange. We've got like some of these more like, I don't want to say like mid guys, but like they're like, if you would have asked Tad in the 90s, like, hey, Tad, do you think you're ever going to see a Doctor Strange movie? I would have, like, laughed in your fucking face. Like, there's no way, dude. They could barely...
Commit that man.
Yeah, it's like they can...
Put him away.
They can barely get X-Men and Spider-Man off the ground. Those are, like, the big ones. And you're telling me that, like, you're asking me if a fucking Doctor Strange movie... or
Strange?
Or an Iron Man movie, even, because Iron Man was...
Iron Man was B tier.
Yeah, I mean, he was always, like, big in the Avengers, but, like, he was never... It's like...
Mike says same with Ant-Man.
Yeah, Ant-Man, exactly. Like, yeah, and Ant-Man, and, like, I thought about that with Quantumania as I was watching. I was like, dude, if you could have told me that I was going to see MODOK and I was going
MODOK,
and I was going to be in like the quantum realm with Ant-Man, like I just there were a few moments of surreality where I was just like, this is absolutely bizarre. Like I was just, I can't believe I'm fucking seeing a live action Ant-Man. Like it just so we're in a spot where it's just incredible. As
basically
a fan
what it comes
up.
down to when it comes to Marvel.
Just hook it to my veins!
Yeah, I love it. And like Phase 4, some people shit on, but it's like, I feel like Phase 4 is like building a lot, laying a lot of track for future stuff, and they're introducing people. Like, I know, like Miss Marvel is one of my favorite things of Phase 4. I absolutely cannot wait for the Marvels, because a whole movie of...
That comes out this year, right?
Yeah, a whole movie of Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers, like, with the whole hero thing they've got there. I can't wait to see it, dude. And I love her. She was such an endearing character to me. So it's like, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for all things coming ahead. But I've like Eternals. I was watching a reaction video of that. I'm like, I need to watch that again. I really enjoyed that movie. It was different, but it's like, I loved it for what it was. But yeah, I love the MCU. It is number one for me right now. We haven't got to a spot yet where like a Marvel and a Star Wars show come out the same day, because that would be a real test.
That's the test.
If there was like a Loki season 2 the same day that Mandalorian came out.
Dude, it's
like,
Mandalorian. Dude, okay. It's not my decision, though.
You're probably right, but there would be a thought and a debate.
There would be a pause.
And there would be a pause of a certain, call it 5 seconds.
What if you only had time for one that day and the other one would have to wait for the weekend? Like it's a Wednesday.
Same question, right? Because it does come down. Yeah, it would end up being the Mandalorian. Yeah. But the fact is that, like, if you would have said 5 years ago or like whatever, like that hey, at some point, Tad, you're going to have a choice to watch a new Star Wars thing or a new Marvel thing, and you could have to watch one first. If you would have told me 5 years ago that there would even be a fucking question before I answered Star Wars, I would have said you're crazy. So the fact that there is like a 5-second delay to thinking like, do I want to watch Loki season 2 or Mandalorian? What? The fact there's a thought there speaks a lot to where Marvel's at for me. So go ahead. I know I've kind of.
I mean, same for me. I haven't been as into it as Tad was from the beginning. In fact, one of my greatest shames of all time is that I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy in theater. Tad had to come
You-
over to my house and show me.
You learned though.
You
learned.
That's where I learned my lesson. Ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, which came out in 2012, I have seen every single Marvel movie in theaters. If not opening weekend with Tad, very close to it.
Yeah.
There are scheduling times where I'm out of town on that Thursday or something like that, but you know what? My wife has gotten into it. She's as big a nerd as me when it comes to Marvel.
Yeah.
We watch everything.
I think all of Phase 3. I mean, I think it was like Phase 2, things are a little bit more spotty, but I think all through the tail end of Phase 2 and all through Phase 3 and into 4, we've seen everything. So.
Me, you, Hayden, sometimes Caden, Lydia, my wife, and then we've had a couple other people that have tagged along here or there for random movies, but for the most part, it's the core 4 or 5 that go see Marvel movies.
Yeah.
We literally just went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We have Guardians of the Galaxy in May and the Marvels later this year, November, right?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. So, all ready for it. I'm ready for Secret Invasion. I'm ready for What If Season 3.
2.
Season 2, whenever that
Yeah.
comes out. I'm ready for Loki Season 2.
Yeah.
I'm all ready for it. In fact, I need to go back and rewatch some of the streaming stuff.
I actually think I'm
going
going to go rewatch Loki soon.
I need to
'cause
go
I was-
rewatch Loki.
Again, I was watching a reaction video and somebody's watching Loki and I'm like, God, I need to watch this again. That's so good. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, Carol's absolutely right. Disney, just take my money.
Mike says I've never heard of Moon Knight before the trailer, and I think if you've watched it, Mike, I'd be curious to know what you thought. He's a very interesting character, and they did
It's so good.
I think two things. They did a really good job on the show, but two, fucking Oscar Isaac. My God, how good did he do?
Oscar Isaac is amazing.
Was there ever a time that you kind of like saw through there was two separate characters there?
No.
In terms of like the way he acted, like
I thought it was two different actors.
It legit
at
could have been
times.
two different actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was so good at it. Also, Mike says they would never overlap. Disney needs to keep the subscription month to month. I agree. It would never happen, but I'm just saying if it did, because that's the ultimate test, right? Or maybe even more so. What if it was a movie? What if a Star Wars movie and a Marvel movie are coming out the same weekend, and you had to pick show times? That's the Sophie's choice. I'm
Yeah.
just not. No.
Go from one right to the other.
My eyes split. Watch two movies at the same time. And then Carol says even Spider-Man's one-time foe Morbius got a movie, maybe too deep of a cut. And then Mike says, good point, Carol, although I actually like that movie. I'm a sucker for vampire stories. I will say I have not allowed myself really to get into the Sony stuff much, like the Morbius, even the Venom. I'm not a fan of Venom anyway. I know he's a big character
Tad
in the 90s.
does not like
but
Venom.
I don't. I hate Venom, man. He's one of my least favorite
Which is a bummer
characters.
because it looks like he's going to be a bad in Spider-Man 2, the game on PS5.
Oh yeah, exactly. And he's a super big fan favorite. There's just two Marvel characters that are beloved that I'm just so on, or maybe dislike. Venom and Gambit. Gambit
Which is funny because that's like my favorite X-Men. I love
Gambit I just think is always so overrated. He's weak, and I just think I don't know. Maybe it's just like being like a punk and wanting to go against what everyone loves. But I've just never liked those two. Even Deadpool there for a while before the movie came out, I was getting sick of just because like I just felt like everyone was doing like dumb like cosplay things with him, and it was just I felt like it was just going too far for like whatever. The movies have helped a little bit to like bring my view of him up a bit. Ryan Reynolds has done a great job.
Can't wait for 3.
Yeah, exactly. But still, he's a little bit more mid, not because like he's bad, but just because like he was almost in the same realm as Gambit, and maybe is why I should watch, because I think Tom Hardy's a good actor too. But I don't trust Sony. I mean, we're from our Dark Tower side. We know Sony is not known for the greatest stuff, and I think Sony's trying as hard as they can to blur the lines between the MCU and their Spider-Man shit.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of been a dick where I'm just like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So and that's not to say anyone else should be that way. If you like,
not saying he's shitting on the movies or anything. That's just his opinion.
Yeah, I trust what the MCU is doing, and there's almost no one else right now doing comic book movies that I really trust. The Boys doesn't count. But it's like I just feel
It's
like
not a movie.
Yeah. No, it's not a movie for sure. But I'm just saying, in general, I think just a lot of stuff is just. I feel like the MCU has evolved, but a lot of other comic book movies still feel like there's kind of that early 2000s like vibe where it just feels like they're not evolving. Because I think MCU there's a huge evolution there.
But you dug the Batman.
Oh yeah. Batman doesn't count. Like it's Batman's
Batman.
Batman. Yeah, exactly. And Superman would be the same way. But we honestly, yeah, Batman. We've had plenty of movies. Superman, we haven't seen a lot of movies in the last little while. But yeah, just Marvel, I feel, has just taken a step to the realm where like we're seeing movies. I mean, I think like the big difference for me that's stark in my mind is the joke in X-Men 1. What did you expect? Yellow spandex.
Yeah.
And then like the MCU where it's like, yes, Captain America has a fucking spangly outfit. Yes, Doctor Strange has a fucking red goddamn cape. Like,
And a third eye.
I mean, now, yes. I just think that's like, because to me, like, I remember always hating that line in X-Men because I'm just like, so wait, you're going to poke at and shit on like literally what brought me
That's
to
literally
you?
what's happening with that new show Velma, where it's like making fun of, they made an adult cartoon and then they're shitting on people who like adult cartoons. It's like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah, it's
like,
just-
understand
it-
your audience, guys.
Yeah, and I just think that, like, and I think, like, because, like, I think a good example, too, RoboCop. RoboCop in the early last decade, last decade, 2014 or so, they came out with the new RoboCop. What did they do? They fucking turned him black because, it's tactical and shit. That is exactly what they could have done. I think if, like, Sony or some of these lesser studios had done Iron Man, I guarantee Iron Man would not have had a red and gold suit. It would have been black or camouflaged or whatever.
Urban camo.
You know, or like X-Men, right? They all had the fucking black leather shit. And it's just like Kevin Feige in the MCU is just like, no, what they look like in the
They're
comics.
comic book characters.
Yeah, they're going to look like the fucking comics. Loki has fucking looped horns. Like, he doesn't wear them all the time, but he has that. I mean, and like Hawkeye, the Hawkeye show, they finally got him into a comic book accurate suit. I mean, Scarlet Witch finally started looking like the Scarlet fucking Witch. Like, they are embracing it, and I give them all the credit in the world for that. And I feel like that's kind of where the rest of comic book movies, in my mind, they still need to get to, is they feel like they're still making movies that kind of are on par with like the Fantastic Four movies, and not the shitty remake one, but like the ones in the early 2000s. Like, I'm not saying those movies are bad, but like, are they anywhere near what the MCU is doing quality wise?
No, because I think the MCU is able to embrace their roots.
Yeah,
It's a comic book movie.
and the weirdness.
Give me comic book movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me what's in the comic. I want to see some of that on screen and everything. And I don't want it to be ultra realistic. That's one of the drawbacks I have with the Nolan trilogy. Is you take Batman and you make him too real.
Yeah,
Like the Batman for me, the new Batman, I got to be careful. Batman can be dark and gritty.
yeah,
It has been since Frank Miller did The Dark Knight Returns and everything like that in the 80s. But it also can be campy and fun and, groovy.
yeah.
That's
the Batman I grew up on
That's
first.
what you grew up with,
before
yeah.
the animated series.
So-
I had some VHSs of the Adam West.
He has range.
Yeah, absolutely.
And James Gunn is over DC now.
Yeah,
And we have another Batman movie coming out, Batman and Robin.
yeah,
I'm very intrigued what's going to happen here.
yeah.
I
indeed.
wonder if we're going to get the not so serious Batman.
I hope so. 'Cause
It'd be fun.
I think there comes a point when you can't. There's only so far you can go if you just keep pushing darker and grittier until you cross the line of it becomes a rated R movie.
Yeah.
And I just think that, like, come on. Catching up on the chat real quick, Mike says he liked Moon Knight. Split personality mixed with a quality villain. Was a compelling story. Carol says I didn't watch Moon Knight because the quick cuts were too manic for me. I don't care if that makes sense, but I didn't watch it. And I get it. Yeah, especially that first bit when it's splitting around. It's very strange filmmaking. And then let's see. She says it gave me anxiety. Same reason I can't watch The Bear. Great show, but too stressful. Reminds me of Uncut Gems, the Adam Sandler movie. Dude, I am not an anxious person. I don't get anxiety. That movie gave me fucking anxiety.
I'm not watching it then.
That's everyone I talk to is like a lot of my family have anxiety. Like, it's just something they stress with, and like, and I've told them that too, and they're just like, dude, if it gives you anxiety, I am never fucking watching it.
Yeah.
But it's such a good movie. But yeah, I need to watch The Bear. Mike says The Bear is a good watch. I advise you to get a hot cup of tea or glass of wine and force yourself to watch it. It's worth it. Tad says, "Don't fix what ain't broken," is what Carol says. And then Chris from Australia joining us. Heil, Chris. First time you've
Chris.
joined us on this. I guess we don't need to say Heil even.
That's from Dark Tower.
That's the Dark
Hi,
Tower.
Chris.
Hi, Chris. He says, "Hi all. Yes, The Bear is so worth it. First few episodes are intense, but the final 3 are worth the payoff." And then Mike says it also makes you want to get a sandwich. And then Mike says, "Welcome to the party, Chris."
Welcome to the party, pal.
Let's
That's a
see.
Die Hard
And then
reference,
Carol says, "Okay, maybe I'll retry that." And MK, when I'm on vacation, that should have said, "I don't know if I'll if that makes sense." Yeah, just catching up on the chat there. Yeah, but sorry, I think I may have cut you off a little bit on
That's
on
okay.
what you were saying with the MCU, but yeah, just go on. There, we're digging it.
I mean, literally, again, I can't say it enough that is literally what the MCU is right now for me.
Yeah.
Whatever they put out on Disney Plus, whatever they put out in theaters, I'm going to watch. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Because I dig the fuck out of it. I dig their writing. I dig their CGI and everything like that. People have shit on their recent stuff, but The Last of Us proved that people can't be trusted with CGI. Tell them the story about the giraffe that you were telling me at work the other day.
Oh yeah. I just lost all my script. They're not
Here. I'll tell
yeah.
while you get that pulled back up. Todd was telling me that during The Last of Us final, there's a shot of a wild animal.
A giraffe, yeah.
A giraffe. I don't even know if we wanted to spoil it or not, but okay, we're going
It's
there.
from the game, I think, too.
But
so
there's a
it's-
giraffe, and it's here in Utah that this scene takes place, which is really cool for us because it's like, hey, that's probably from the zoo up here. You know, it's called Holgo Zoo
Yeah.
and everything. And people were shitting on it, being like, God, this CGI is just so terrible. The giraffe looked like absolute shit. And one of the show's creators or writers or directors, someone involved in the
Special effects person,
special
I think
effects
it was.
person,
Yeah.
tweeted out and was like, that was a real giraffe. Like, we didn't use CGI to make the giraffe. That was a real giraffe.
Yeah.
So I just think that people are a little too uppity when it comes to like the CGI. There's some stuff that I'm like, oh, okay. But a lot of the times I hear about it later that people were like, oh man, this shot of Captain America was the worst CGI they've ever put on the Marvel film. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What looked bad?
I
But I grew up with, shitty 90s CGI. So
Yeah.
I guess that I'm not as critical of it. But some of these people have only grown up on the MCU and Avatar and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they probably have higher standards than me.
Yeah. Let's see. I missed something here. Old Habits.
Yeah, talking
Heil
about
and
Heil
Hello.
versus
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
And then DTP, Pleasant Nights, and Pleasant Nights, Good Night All. Is Mike taken off? That's what I was missing.
okay.
No. He's saying the different lines there. Long Days and Pleasant Nights for Dark Palaver, and then
Good Night All.
Good Night All for yeah. So I'm digging. I mean, I will say there's a couple elements in Ant-Man that felt like maybe they could have used a little bit more time on the CG. Not that it took me out of it really, but I think.
Yeah.
But I also think kind of it fit with Quantumania a little bit. But there was some times where I'm like, there is a shortage of people right now to do special effects, and there's a couple times in Ant-Man where I'm like, that doesn't look as good as some of the stuff that we've seen previous. But yes, you're right though. If we go back and look at what we had with like Scorpion King or some of the
Dude, I pulled up that scene from Scorpion. I'm like, it's not as bad as everyone's saying.
Oh, it is.
I pulled it up, dude. I pulled it up on YouTube and I went, oh, I did Hey Kills whole. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking
It's
heinous.
bad.
It's
So I got a couple questions regarding our top 5 fandoms currently that I want to ask you before we're getting close to time.
Sure.
The one question I really want to ask, are there any fandoms that would make your all-time list that isn't currently in your top 5? Like how you mentioned it earlier, Halloween. I'll help answer the question.
Yeah, I think like Halloween, Scream, things like that almost made the list. Scream we just talked about last episode. Those are some fandoms that are really deeply ingrained in my being. I was a little bit surprised that no horror made it on my list. I love horror.
I'm actually very shocked by that.
Yeah, so those are probably there. Jurassic Park. I love
that's
at least the first movie. I guess that's weird. But I don't care for a lot of the sequels, but the first movie is one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, there's just a lot of... Yeah, there's stuff like Halo that I love.
will say
video
that there was a
game-wise.
time where me, you, and Halo were three
huge
buddies.
And
we read novels about Halo.
The books,
We read online articles about lore and stuff like that.
And no promises, but if we ever did a streaming...
Gaming
thing for this show,
it would absolutely be Halo,
a side thing, part of Geekery Abides Me. If that were to ever happen, not saying it will, but if it were, I bet you anything it would be Halo.
It absolutely will be Halo. That's one that's on my list. Is Halo.
I mean, Star Trek. Didn't make
is a
my
good
list. Right now, I'm really digging it too with Picard. It damn near made the list here. It almost did. Because Picard is fucking killing it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the slightest bit of a next-gen fan, you don't have to watch the first 2 seasons of Picard. just watch the third season though. It's fucking incredible. It's some of the best Trek I've seen in decades. So yes, that would be on there as well. That's probably it.
I have 3 on my list. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
I
Turtles.
fucking
for me, yeah.
love. I still love.
I guess I
Teenage
should look
Mutant
in
Ninja
my
Turtles.
room and see if there's anything else that gives me
Yeah,
hints.
see, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of your stuff up here. Oh, Terminator, dude.
Oh,
How
yeah.
the fuck did Terminator not make your list?
That's true. Yeah, Terminator is another big one for all time.
How many copies of Terminator 2 do you own?
I think it's because like there hasn't been any movies recently.
Yeah.
Like the last number of movies have been just like I think because I've come to this conclusion. I think there's some franchises that have just enough gas in the tank for like Jurassic Park 1 movie. Terminator
some have 3 or
Terminator
2.
has 2 movies. Aliens had a couple movies in it. But I think there comes a point when an IP. I know some people hate like the way talking about it that way, but there's some IPs I think just have a finite amount of movies
Mm-hmm.
in them, and I think Terminator is long past that. And I just think that they're just beating a dead horse at this point.
So-
the first 2 movies are some of the all-time greatest movies and some of my favorite stuff, but yeah, not making my list right now.
To your point, I remember listening to this podcast back in the day, and we talked about this on the other show, but I'm going to tell the story here. There's a gentleman telling the story, talking about that exact situation on this podcast I used to listen to, where sequels are made to make money. And is a sequel made to make money, or is it there to expand the universe?
Yeah, exactly.
The question was John Wick.
Yeah.
It was in between John Wick and John Wick 2, and he's like, I don't know if I'm really excited for this. And people were like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? It was a great action movie. It's a great story. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, is it? He's like, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm just saying we've seen this before with series
Yeah.
where it's made and it's like,
Especially action.
why did they make this a series?
Yeah, especially action.
Especially
Right.
action.
Yeah.
But we've also seen action series. I'm sorry.
Do well. Die Hard.
The Lethal
first
Weapon 4 movies. I fucking adore the 4 Lethal Weapon movies.
the first 3 Die Hards.
The first 3 Die Hards are fantastic movies.
Yeah.
Great action movies. The first Rambo, completely different than the rest of the Rambos, but the first like 3 sequels of Rambo, dude, if you want an action movie where someone's taking a machine gun and cutting down 50 guys, go watch a Rambo movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I like the phrase, they use sequels to make money, but sometimes the sequels are made to make a universe.
Yeah.
Which is what happened with Terminator.
Star
You made
Wars
Terminator
and stuff.
2.
Yeah.
The universe got better because of
But
Terminator
I think Terminator 2 was so close-ended that's where the series has been.
It should absolutely should have.
They've been
ended there.
floundering for 30 years now because like Terminator 2 ended in a way where it's where do you go from here?
The rest of them were made to make money.
At some point, we'll have to have a discussion on Terminator 3 because I actually would love to defend Terminator 3 because I do think it's a worthy sequel. Actually, 3 is.
I think we'll have to remember that.
Yeah, the trilogy.
I will write that down.
Catching on the chat real quick regarding the giraffe. Chris says reminds me of a cartoon I saw some 20 some years ago. 2 people lying in a sleeping bag around their campfire. Beautiful forest. All is silent, and one camper says to the other, "The acoustics could be better." So, yeah, exactly. And I think, especially The Last of Us, I think some people are just complaining to complain.
Sure.
Let's see. Mike says, I'm surprised The Simpsons isn't on Tad's list. And I think
shit.
That's another one like Terminator, I think. And that's a good call, Mike. Is I just haven't really been heavily watching Simpsons in a couple years.
It's been more than a couple years, sir.
It's in my mind, but like a couple years back, I mean, I used to have a TV in my room, just a small one, and it isn't that I would watch TV, but I would throw something on and just have it play as I was going to sleep.
Listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to do that with Simpsons, and I would just go front to back for the ones I had on DVD and just back and forth, forward and back, watch them, whatever. And I think that was a huge. But even on Disney Plus, I think I'm in like the 5th season, but I just feel like I watch an episode here, and then like I need to, once I dive back in, I bet you that's something that would bring. Now it's always in my mind. I still have the first 15 or so seasons probably memorized. But
Just hook it to my vein!
There's a reason that soundbite's on our board.
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And Peter can attest on social media how often I post Simpsons stuff.
He posts Simpsons stuff. He quotes Simpsons stuff. I can say something to him about the Simpsons, and he knows what episode it is. If it's in that first like 6 seasons, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's this episode." He'll tell me the episode title. I didn't know Simpsons episodes had titles.
Yeah, but I think that's one that could make its way around. Carol says, "Wow, you mentioned that before, Tad, and I told one of my clients about to start college to consider that because they like art. We need good CG people. Yeah, exactly. It's nuts right now.
Yeah.
It'd be a good business to be in currently. And then Carol says, "Yep, Chris. People who want to complain." And then Mike says, LOL, Carol, on that thought. My complaint about the current streaming is runtime listed as 55 minutes. Really, 3 minutes of recap, 2-minute intro, 8+ minutes of credits. Just call it a 40-minute. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Also, heads up, I did hear that the Mandalorian next episode's like 30 minutes.
Ugh.
So it is going to be the shortest, potentially,
Again.
episode period of the show, which I hate. I hate that shit. But I'm glad I at least know in advance, because I would have been pissed if I didn't hear about it in advance.
Yeah.
And then Carol says, yeah, Mike, how about the acoustics? My sound system sucks, so not great. Yeah, let's go. We got a couple minutes. So let's see, what do we got? We got to announce the last episode, but I want to do a closing arguments for you.
Oh, we didn't do a last episode. We're going to do a closing arguments?
Yeah, I know we're getting close to time,
Okay.
so we might go a tiny bit over. But closing arguments, we had this once before. I do still need to get some sort of thing to show on screen to show like our record
Yeah.
for the
You want to
closing
take the
arguments.
fandoms down since we're done with that?
Yeah, let me see here. There's no fast way to do it, but that should.
There we go.
And then transition the slide. There we go. Yeah. So with the closing arguments, this is basically like a court case. There is no debate. I'm not going to be the prosecutor or defense. It is just going to be I give a topic for Peter, and then he has to make an argument.
Yeah, last time Tad's one was convince me that Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side was preventable.
What was that, episode 2?
Episode 2 when we did
that?
it?
I think
Yeah.
so. So that's how we're going to do it, is that one person challenges the other. You just have a minute or
Few
so
minutes,
to throw out an argument, and it comes down to whether you win the case or lose the case based on your arguments. So this one, actually, I will admit, we ran out of time last time, so this one would have been on last episode.
Well, we got too nerded out, but with Scream.
Yeah. I think Chris does ask if we have a time limit. Just because we've been going for a while now with the Dark Tower Palaver as well. We're about close to 4 hours.
Over.
So, yeah, a little over 4 hours of recording. So it gets to the point where the voices start to get a little bit whatever. Even some of those long Dark Tower Palaver episodes we've had, it's been we felt it.
Yeah.
And
Trust me, I love to talk.
Chris
so.
says soft. Yeah, so it is a little bit easier on this one to go a little bit over because we don't have another episode.
We don't have another show after this one.
Yeah.
So.
But the closing argument, so the one I have, so the slasher Mount Rushmore,
Okay.
it's pretty well set for 3 of them. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger.
Absolutely.
The last spot is where the debate comes.
Okay.
So convince me why Ghostface, one of the newest boys on the block, should take that 4th spot over people like Candyman or Leatherface or Chucky.
All right. So, I mean, first off, none of those have had successful sequel series afterwards. Chucky had a few films. Candyman had, one sequel and then a revisiting later on. So, Ghostface is the 4th person that should be on the Mount Rushmore of horror films because it also reinvented horror from the 90s. Rescued us from the drab, horrible time that was the 90s horror and brought us into the pinnacle of horror that we are now, where we have everything from Hereditary and Midsummer to slasher films like Scream and X, which I still haven't seen. I still need to watch that. I know, shame on me for that. But yeah,
I'll get the boo button.
Get the boo button ready. But the thing with Ghostface is that it at the same time as reinventing the wheel with horror, it also stayed true to its roots. It kept us guessing. It kept us, what is going on with the killer? Is it the boyfriend? Is it not the boyfriend? It can't be the boyfriend again. That kind of thing. There's something for everyone when they watch Scream, whether they want to see blood and guts, gore, they want the humor side of it, or they want the guessing side of it, which is my thing. I love the guessing thing. You like the gore. I know you do. And everything. So the fact that Ghostface has become iconic, literally having a name while being different killers, just shows you that it's more versatile than any of those pretenders that you just listed that could be on the 4th spot on Mount Rushmore. You throw up a Michael Myers mask, people know what movie that's from. You throw up a hockey mask, people think Jason. You throw up the metal fingers, you think Freddy Krueger. You throw up a white mask that looks like the Scream, people think Ghostface. It's absolutely the 4th one that belongs on there. The only way that you can say that it doesn't belong on there is that, oh, well, it's too meta. Well, that's the point. That's why it is so good, is that it understands itself and it doesn't take itself too seriously, to where you can have them on set making a movie called Stab 3 in one of the films called Scream 3. Like, it's just good, and it belongs on the Mount Rushmore of horror.
All right. A couple good things in the chat, but we'll go ahead and
Never lost a case because you're so fucking good.
so that's a win for you, sir. So we're both 1-0.
1-0. I will make note of the
Make
record.
note of that.
Make note of that.
Let's see. Mike says Ghostface can actually be immortal because it's not a dead rising from the grave. It's regular people picking up the mantle and smashing it over someone's head. I do at some point would love to have a conversation on here about my theory as to why they at some point could take Ghostface supernatural
Into a
if they
supernatural
wanted
realm.
to. Carol said he said Pretenders, the shade of it all. Yeah, that shocked me there too, man. Throwing some shade at some all-time legends.
Legends. I mean, again,
Leatherface. I mean, Candyman.
Again.
Is great. Chucky. Come
how
on.
many sequels have they had that have been worthwhile?
I would say Chucky. Well, and also right now, Chucky is getting a lot of rave reviews because of that television show, which I need to watch
A
still.
television show. You failed so bad at making movies, you went to television show? Sir, you just won my argument for me on that one.
I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has had like 8 remakes now. They just keep remaking it.
Yeah, they just keep remaking it because they can't make a sequel because it's a one-and-done show. Doesn't belong on there.
Yeah. No, you won the case. Mike says, LOL, Carol, my sister was the right age where her dolls look too much like the good guy doll. Yeah, I had, at some point, I'll look it up, and I had a doll that was one of the bases of the good guy doll. And one day I will have a real good guy doll.
They sell them.
Oh, they do. I know.
I sent you a picture last year from the Halloween store where they sold it.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there.
That was not the full scale replica and
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. So that's it for closing arguments. We will continue that on. Like I said, I'm going to try to figure out some way on screen to show the records. I guess I had a slide I forgot to go to. Sorry about that. As it says there, though, no debate, just closing arguments to convince the other person. So the only other thing we have to do is announce next episode. So next episode, I will throw the thing up now. Next time on Geekery Abides, episode 5, we will be going through The Last of Us Season 1. So that will be on episode 5 on April 8th, 2023 at 4:15 Mountain Time, which is 6:15 Eastern, 11:15 Zulu time. Talking The Last of Us. That is going to be my episode, and it is now in the books. It's aired. It will have
Season
aired for a
1's done.
while. So we're going to go through and talk through it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yes, Mike, with spoilers. We will absolutely be spoiling Season 1 of The Last of Us. Oh, shit. I haven't played the game.
Chris says, I don't know. I haven't played through the game entirely.
We're talking
either. Just
the show.
For sure. Chris says, I didn't know who Ghostface was until Peter's closed the argument. Then I knew instantly, which is more evidence that it deserves a 4 spot. There you go.
Thank you, Your Honor. I rest my case. That's what we need to say at the end of closing arguments when we're done. We need to say, I rest my case.
Did I not say that?
I think you did. I don't think I did.
Okay.
I failed you. I have failed you.
How dare you?
I hang my head in shame. I'm going to put 1. I'm going to put an asterisk next to it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back again. With this episode was moved forward because of a vacation, so we will not be back until the 8th of April, but we will be back then talking The Last of Us Season 1. And then, who knows what the future has. I mean, I guess Peter technically might know, but we're always going to save the announcements for the end of the last episode, kind of like the old TV shows, right? Next time on Geekery Abides.
Tune in next time to see how the story concludes. Wait, we already did that.
Exactly.
We concluded.
That is it for this episode. We want to hit the I don't really have a slide for I still need to add that. Get a slide for the emails. But if you do want to email the show, I guess I can go on back to the original slide. If you want to email the show, you can do it to either of us directly, either at Peter at geekeryabides.com or Tad, Tadd, at geekeryabides.com. We split the shows. I do the odd shows. Peter produces the even shows. So if you want to talk to either of us directly, send the emails those directions. If you don't really care, just pick one out of a hat, flip a coin, do whatever you want. But that is our main.
Let the coin decide.
That is the main way to get a hold of us is either Peter or Tad at geekeryabides.com. TADD is how to spell Tad. And yeah, so if you want to do that, we're also on social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And yeah, we'll be back on the 8th of April for The Last of Us. I'm really excited.
Last of Us. I'm so excited. I am going to tease a little bit. We do have a discussion topic involving the last episode. That is going to be one of the main things that we talk about. So just a little tease for all of you that stuck around after the little end bits. That is something that is going to happen.
Yeah. Carol says it's going to be awesome. Mike says, I saw it. I'm just asking for general audience. Great show. See y'all next month. Carol says that's the day after my birthday. I hope I can still make it. I hope you can too as well. But we will wish you a happy birthday if we remember. Peter will have to take note of that as well. But yeah, that's looking forward to that discussion. But yeah, definitely spoilers. Thank you, Mike, for covering that. Because yeah, we do want to talk about the whole season. So hopefully that, what is that, almost a month buffer between the end of the show before we talk about it.
You got
close
time.
to a month. You got time for sure. So we'll sign off. I guess I can't say as we always do because we still haven't landed on a full-on closing. But I'll say as I always do, let your geek flag fly high. Love what you love. And if anyone doesn't like what you love, fuck them.
Yeah. Night, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.